All right. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Crawford County, Illinois Ghost Hunter Society live talk show. I believe this is episode number 12. We're doing something a little different here tonight. I'm using a mobile version for the show tonight, so I apologize. There was no music. We just kind of came straight into the show. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining tonight. And welcome to the Crawford County, Illinois Ghost Hunter Society live talk show, episode number 12. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff here tonight. Hopefully we've got good internet access. Like I said, I'm using a mobile version tonight because I'm not at home. So and I was having some internet problems. So I kind of went down the road, and we're trying it out this way, guys. So you're gonna have to give us our feedback, or your feedback, on how the show is tonight. Heck, maybe you like it better. I don't know, but I cannot monitor or see any of your comments as a problem. So I don't know. Dale, are you able to do that?
Yeah, I'm seeing the comments here on my end.
Okay. Maybe Dale can check the comments and answer some of your questions for you then. But definitely check our website out at crawfordcountyghosthunters.org. Our email address is illinoishauntings@gmail.com. If you guys have any questions or comments that you want to email us, definitely send us an email at illinoishauntings@gmail.com. And we are broadcasting dual tonight from Facebook and to YouTube. But we're on our Facebook page right now. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/Crawford County Ghost Hunters. If you are viewing from our YouTube page, that's YouTube.com/Crawford County Ghost Hunters. You can also find us on Instagram at Crawford County Ghost Hunters. But we also have a call-in number I'll post if I do decide to put that up tonight. But tonight's guest, again, we've got Dale Kazmarek with us here again tonight, because we did an investigation. I don't know if you guys seen it last night, but we did a really good investigation. Well, at midnight at the Ashmore Estates there. I don't know if you call it a good one, but we didn't get to set everything up. We're going to talk about that, though. But yeah, tonight's guest is Dale Kazmarek. He is the founder and president of the Ghost Research Society. You can visit his website at ghostresearch.org. So definitely check that out. And see if I can throw that down there. All right. So what we're going to talk about tonight is our recent investigation at the Ashmore Estates. So, we went there. I'm sure you guys watched it last night. We did a two-part special there at the Ashmore Estates. And we got there. What happened, I'm going to start out, kind of telling you guys what went on last night, because people were probably wondering what the heck. But what happened is the guy reached out to me a while back and wanted to do a birthday party for his daughter. And he wanted to know, if he could come to the Ashmore Estates there while we done that, or do that at the Ashmore Estate. And I said, yeah, it'd be cool. So, we done a birthday party for him, and that was supposed to start, at 7 from the 9 area. And they stayed, I think till midnight, because they were having a blast. They were, seeing some stuff. We were getting some stuff. And I do believe, we might have had some interaction with the ghosts or spirits of the Ashmore Estates, if there are any there, with the kids. So I don't know if that's even better or not lighting wise, but yeah, that's what went on. At around midnight, they all left, and then we started a serious investigation of the Ashmore Estates. We had Dale there. We had, of course, myself, Jared Pinkston, Allison Turner, Courtney Mendenhall, and Jason Dickerson was on my team when we investigated last night. But I don't know. I think it went pretty good once we started around midnight, to do the serious part of the investigation. And The only problem is we didn't set our camera system up and all of our equipment due to the nature of the beginning of the investigation with the kids and stuff, and I was afraid they were going to trip. So we decided to not do that this time around. But we probably will the next go around. I've been talking to Rob and Terry, and I'd definitely like to go back. But so Dale, I apologize. I'm not going to be able to probably play your EVPs you sent me tonight due to me not being able to get signal at home. So we're just gonna have to talk about it and maybe play them on an upcoming show. So what do you
Sure.
think about last night?
Well, there were several interesting things that when even before we started our serious investigation that was kind of going on inside the building. If you remember, there was one instance when you were upstairs. I think you were doing a ghost box session with the kids on the second floor, and I was doing a phasma box session at the kind of like in the entryway on the first floor. And I didn't have the phasma box on real loud because I didn't have to. I'm sitting right next to him. And all of a sudden, you called on the walkie-talkie. You said basically, did anybody scream downstairs? Because all the kids said they heard some sort of scream, a child's screaming or something. And that was pretty cool. Now, initially, when I reviewed it, kind of like with my little portable recorder, I heard it. But then when I went back here, which is not unusual. Here with putting it on my through Audacity and with my headphones on, I can't hear anything. So it's kind of strange. But we had that going on. I think we had some names that came through. We had some interaction, I believe, out in the back when we were by the cemetery or where the cemetery used to be with the phasma box back there. And then upstairs on that, I haven't even got to that section yet, but I know. You were seeing like shadows in the corner up there.
Yeah.
The little device, I'm not sure what you call it, but sort of similar to a REM pod that we had it sitting in a chair and it was going off.
Right.
I think Jarrett said he thought the laser grid had turned, and so a lot of strange things were happening basically upstairs, and that was an area that when we were there. I don't know, back in 2015, 2016, I'm not even sure when, that hallway was a very active hallway for us because it was in that hallway where we had picked up kind of like shadow play, not with the cameras, unfortunately, it never happens usually, but kind of with our eyeballs. We kind of were seeing shadow play down the hallway, and then right around the corner, there's a set of stairs that go down to the second and to third floor. And it's on that landing where we had gotten some stick figures with the SLS camera, kind of standing, kind of like almost holding onto the banister, and they're kind of coming up towards us and then disappearing. I guess maybe the ghost got halfway up the stairs, saw us, and freaked out and left or something. I'm not quite sure. So that whole area for us was creepy to begin with when we were there. So that's why I wanted to go back there and do some other stuff. And I think we got some. I'm not 100% sure what that dark shadow. I mean, I saw it myself. I mean, somebody said it might have been a bat. There are some lights outside. I don't know, maybe some moths. So they probably had been pretty big moths, to cast a shadow out there. So I'm not exactly sure what we were seeing, but that corner is literally right next to that staircase. So there may have been something going on there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I started seeing some shadow play and stuff, like you say, unless it was a bat or something outside, I have no idea what would have caused it. I mean, it could have been because later on in the night when me and Allie, this was after I think you and Dickerson both left even, we did encounter a few bats in the building. We were sitting in one of the rooms and we started hearing that high-pitched squeaking sound, and Allie kind of freaked out. And she doesn't like bats, I guess.
I should have dug up my bat detector.
Yeah, definitely.
I had it with me. It actually picks up the ultrasonic sound of the bats with the echolocation when they try to move around.
Right, that'd be cool. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what we've seen. And another thing, that they didn't get to see because Unfortunately, we didn't have any signal there, guys, inside the building. And next time, now that we've been up there, we know, none of our hotspots working there. I think we're going to like try to rig up some sort of booster from outside and then run it into the inside of the building. Kind of like a temporary deal while we're there, just so we can get signals, so we can actually go live throughout the whole building if we do it again. So that way, that they can see the whole investigation. But I had to set the camera up as a stationary static camera, so they could watch it and kind of monitor it like a ghost camera throughout the night, so the fans and the live feed viewers could watch it that way. Because otherwise, you guys wouldn't have seen anything because there was just no signal inside there, and it kind of sucked. But that's the way we had to do it. But next time, we'll definitely know to bring some type of booster to boost the signal into the inside of the building. But
I didn't
what
have
they
a
do,
chance to go through any of the videos that you might have posted, from what you shot there. But if you remember, when we went upstairs, and then on kind of like I guess you call it like phase 2, after the first 4 hours, we started again. And you put your camera right there facing down the hallway, and when we came down, there were people saying that they saw chairs moving. They saw what appeared to be like a kind of an apparition or some sort of foggy patch or something kind of disappear into a wall. I mean, that's something obviously you'll have to review. If you caught something like that, well, great. That's absolutely amazing. But I was catching some stuff, right close to the doorway. So you literally don't even have to be in the building, to catch a ghost or something on there, because if they're anywhere in the area, they're going to hear you and probably come up to talk or make their presence known.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I haven't went back, like you said, either, and looked at the video and looked at the comments that everybody left last night. I mean, I was still catching up on sleep at about 3 p.m. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at all that, and definitely look to see what all the live, all the viewers on the live feed seen. Unfortunately, like I say, I can't monitor that. So if anybody's throwing out any questions, Dale, just go ahead and throw them out there, and we'll try to answer them. But one thing they didn't see during our investigation when we had the kids there, the parents and the kids, I had them up on the second floor, and I think it was I don't know. Let me think about this. Like 3 kids and their parents. We were sitting there, and we had the Phasma box on what I call the nurses station,
right?
And we were getting some interaction with the kids. I believe it said like young ones, or the kids are here, something along the lines of interacting with the kids. I have to go back and listen to my recordings, but it was definitely interacting, getting intelligent responses because the kids were there. I mean, it was like they were talking, and it was responded back to them. It's kind of cool.
And children, generally speaking, are more open to that anyway than adults, as you know. I mean, children for the most part, don't have those prejudices against ghosts. I mean, they kind of take what they see or hear or feel as kind of face value. So, especially youngsters, even younger than that, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. I mean, if they see something, they might just think it's an invisible playmate of some kind. But there was a comment here from John Miller that said it would be nice if the team could be mic'd up somehow and had mics instead of just going through there and be able to somehow, I don't know if that's something that you can do with the feed.
I don't know, but that's a good
one. Everybody, if you can't get a video feed.
That's a real good idea. We may look into that. Actually, yeah, Mike and all of us up. At one point, we thought about putting like the full spectrum GoPro cameras on each one of us as a body cam. So we could actually, record what we're seeing individual, from a point of view. And, if Dickerson's down a hallway and he says he sees something, it'll be on at all times. So he actually has that recorded. And then we can maybe put the audio back. But yeah, we need to figure out a way to do audio live like that, mic up, and where everybody can hear us that way. We'll look into that. I don't know if it's possible through Facebook Live to do something like that, but we'll definitely look into it. But that's good.
Nurses station, just not to interrupt you real quickly, but that nurses station was another area that we picked up a lot of stuff when we were there. We had several people on the outside of the station, and we actually had with us, I think one of the people that were with us was actually an RN. So she was behind there, and I think she was actually dressed in scrubs. So that was even kind of cooler. When I talked to Sue about what that little room behind there was, and she said it most likely was a pharmacy or places where the nurses would have went back for medications or injections or whatever to give the patients. And when we had all our equipment kind of lined up on that nurse's station desk area, and we were hearing noises coming from that back room. Now, I don't know if I can't really say what it sounded like. It kind of like either things being moved around or shuffling. So, I mean, that kind of goes right in hand with, if there would, during when the place was open, people might have been going in there, picking up stuff, picking up bottles of medication, moving them around and so forth. So that was just another hot area that I don't know if you had a chance to investigate. I know you guys stayed here later than I had to get back. I didn't get back until after 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was a little wore out. I don't think I got up until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something. To tell you the truth, I was literally kind of like burned out a little bit because I had like 6 hours of driving just to get there and back. But I would have loved to investigate there more because we actually. It was quiet at that time. We basically had the place to ourselves. And I mean, just out of curiosity, what kind of other places did you guys investigate after I left?
We went all over. We went to every floor. We went to several of the rooms. We didn't go downstairs to the bottom areas as much. Like we stayed more in the second and third floor. We went to the third floor until we about had a heat stroke.
Right.
But it was so hot up there. But yeah, we went up there. I think we left the building at about 5:15 a.m. Then we ended up leaving because we were still doing a FASMA box session. It may have been a little later than that, 5:15 to 5:30 a.m. So we ended up leaving the building, and it was me, Allie, and Courtney who stayed till the 5:15, and Dickerson and you went home a little early, but we got some stuff, after that, after you guys left. I mean, it was really weird. About, I'd say 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 a.m. Courtney had passed out in the chair beside us, and she was unconscious, so she can't really even verify any of this. But it was me and Allison asking questions on the FASMA box. And we started getting, and this is very weird because I don't usually hear religious type questions or religious type answers come through the FASMA box, or do I hear them on investigations? Usually, you don't really hear a lot of religious stuff. I mean, in my experience, but at 4 a.m., we were downstairs near where you were sitting near that table, like where you were sitting, where they've got the souvenir, where they've got the shirts in the case, right there. We were sitting right there doing a FASMA box session, so everybody could see it on the live feed because we still had it facing down the hallway. And we started getting religious responses, like it said something about Jesus. It said, help me, I need Jesus. It said Jesus like 2 or 3 times on the FASMA box. And then it said Bible. And then Bible came across the Paratech device, like right after that. Yeah. So we got really weird, started, religious stuff started coming in about 4 a.m. And I asked him, I go, is it because it's Sunday morning? I go, do you guys need a church service? Or, because, we were into Sunday morning at that point. And I thought maybe, at the Poor Farm back in the day, maybe that, they had some type of religious service or some type of church service that went on, on Sunday mornings, I assume.
Yeah.
So,
makes sense.
Yeah. So maybe that's what was going on. Maybe they were wanting to start the day with their religious service or something. I don't know. It was weird. I mean, I've never, ever heard that come out of the FASMA box before, ever.
Yeah. Well, we had the only time we ever had any type of religious stuff. I mean, besides the stuff that was Masonic, if you remember, we had some stuff come through the obelisk,
right
down in Oblong, in that former Masonic lodge, Oddfellows Lodge, Oddfellows Lodge, I believe it was. We had those Masonic or Oddfellow kind of terms come through there. And we had that happen one at a time in another Masonic lodge, which is really kind of creepy when you start getting just those types of responses at locations that are relevant. Now you're getting religious stuff on Sunday where they most likely, I don't remember her specifically saying that there was a chapel inside the building, but they may have had some place that they maybe practiced or for religion on Sunday. So that whole idea of having that kind of stuff coming through Sunday, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean that's what I thought was going on. Maybe I was pretty amazed by that because, like I say, I've never heard anything like that come through the Phasma box. Yeah, just in that type of detail. There's just a couple other things. I mean, throughout the night that happened too. Well, one of them happened too when the kids kind of to back up. While the kids were still there, I had the SLS camera in one of the rooms, and
yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And one of the little girls sat down on the chair and she asked if anybody could sit beside her. And lo and behold, a stick figure showed up in the chair beside this little girl and was like, I mean, sitting perfectly in this chair. I mean, you can see its legs sitting perfectly. And the cool thing about this, and like, I'm not a big fan of the SLS camera unless I get intelligent interaction with it, to prove that it was something there. I said, wave your hand. And it literally, I mean, it waved its hand, and moved its hand when I told it to. So, and it did that a couple times. And then all of a sudden it shoots into the air and just disappears off the chair. And
that's just weird.
Yeah.
If you remember, it happened to us one time when we were at Purple Head Bridge. We were using the SLS camera there, and the story behind it was that there were people that were hung from the bridge at one time, possibly even slaves. And we actually had a stick figure, kind of hanging, from one of the edges of the bridge, and his neck was perfectly still, but the rest of his body was thrashing around like you would if you had a noose around your neck. And then all of a sudden, this figure just kind of gets up and walks off the frame of the camera. And I've never ever seen that happen before. Normally, if you have a stick figure in the viewfinder, which where it maps it out, it'll just just vanish, it'll disappear. It usually doesn't walk out of the frame, or in your case, shoot up to the ceiling or something. So that's really kind of unusual. And I'm also a little bit skeptical of the SLS to a point too, because there are certain things that will map out a figure, even though it's not a figure there. Sometimes it can be a door or a door frame. It can be sometimes even a chair or something like that. That if you look at a chair, it kind of has the shape of maybe the shoulders and so forth, minus the head, and it's got arms. Usually it has like something to rest on. So if it maps out, it might map out like a figure. So the ones we really kind of jump for joy when we get is when we're kind of filming into a blank doorway that has no doors, no nothing on it. It's just an opening, and we get a stick figure in the middle of nothing.
Right.
To me, it's a lot more. We've had that happen several times in places. I think that happened at Randolph County Infirmary down in I think it's Winchester, Indiana. I believe it's where it's at.
Right.
Very, very cool place. I mean, if you've ever been there, I mean, we should maybe, do that place. That is definitely a place I'd love to go back, because we had some crazy stuff there. So, I mean, that's the whole idea. When you're mapping this stuff out, I mean, it's not a real scientific thing. It's basically, it's using a connect system, and it's actually, invisible dots. It's a matrix that you're posting up there, even tighter than, say, your laser grid. And it's invisible unless you have a night shot camera. Then you can look through your night shot camera. You actually see the square where you're mapping out. And it's kind of cool. I mean, we have gotten some strange stuff. I mean, I don't know if we have actually got X-rated stuff that come through, literally, that I don't know if I want to talk about it here on here, but just to kind of give you an idea of what it was. We were in a jail, and there were females outside, and there was a guy in the jail that maybe hasn't seen a female in a long time, and you can probably guess what he was maybe doing. And we actually caught that, believe it or not. We caught that at Crown Point Jail, and it's just crazy. So I mean, I've never had one yet wave. So, I mean, you said you weren't recording, darn, but I mean,
I know.
I hope to see somebody wave, because it always seems like every time we're not recording, something happens. I mean, that happened here at Ashmore. We were over at Hale's Bar Marina. We all heard that scream. None of us were recording at the time. So I think spirits, they got to be intelligent. They know that when they're being filmed, or maybe they're just playing a gag on us, just trying to play hard to get.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, going back to the SLS camera thing too. Yeah, we've done a lot of tests, and like I just like to rule out all the false positives that thing gives, because I've seen it hit on broomsticks and it show up as a person, or like a chair with chair legs, so you got to be extremely careful with those things. But yeah, that was intelligent response last night on that thing. So that's pretty weird.
Yeah, just a one quick comment here. Penny Stevens was mentioning that about making a video and posting it later. Of course, they wouldn't be any interaction with us, but we'd be able to watch. Yeah, the whole idea of, like you said, maybe putting POV cameras on us walking through, and then being able to post that video up or whatever, especially if we got something, would be a good idea for those people that we can't get Wi-Fi signals. I mean, I was able to get a little bit of Wi-Fi. I mean, I was able to do everything outside, but it was really strange. When I went to the front of the building, this is really kind of strange. I mean, if you figure if there's Wi-Fi kind of floating around, there's some signal in the air. I went to the front of the building where it actually says Ashmore Estates on it, and there was a bare patch of dirt on there, very hard packed dirt. And as soon as I stepped on that area, I literally froze up. The whole camera froze up. I couldn't get my signal back or anything. When I moved 3 or 4 feet away, miraculously the camera came back on and everything. And I don't know, there are dead zones, but they can't be so localized that they're literally only a couple of feet. To me, it doesn't make any sense unless something there was just interfering with it or whatever. And I know that we had kind of intermittent stuff in the building. I was able to get a little bit when I was sitting there by that table on the ground floor. But if I went any deeper than that, basically we couldn't, because I think we later found out a lot of metal and rebarb in the ceiling that was probably stopping a lot of that signal from coming in. So I guess if we had some sort of, like you say, some sort of Wi-Fi amplifier, I mean, that might be something to look into.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got a booster that we've been experimenting with that, we're going to get more, I think, and we're going to make it to where, we can, boost signal inside some of these places, that doesn't have its own signal. So, and me being the person I am, investigating the Ashmore Estates, last night, I mean, I'm always looking around. I'm always looking for stuff. I try to debunk things. I look at the building too. There were some questions in the past I had with the Ashmore Estates, with not the current owner, but it was a different owner at the time. They had a command center, and they said like they were going to have a staff inside the command center. We weren't allowed to see inside the staff room. And it's like, and they were all going to be present during our investigation. Well, the problem I had with that back in the day is, and I said, well, can I put one of my guys in there to make sure you guys aren't making noises in there, or doing something strange throughout the building, because and they wouldn't let me. This is a different owner,
right? Yeah,
than what is currently there now. But the current owner is really cool, Robin Terry. I mean, I really like him. But I did send him a message earlier, and I asked him a question about some of the things I've seen inside the Ashmore Estates that I'm not real fond of.
Yeah.
And that's some of the speakers throughout the building. I don't like that, especially for paranormal investigations. I'm not fond of a building being rigged with speakers all throughout the building. I looked at the camera systems, and most of them were hardwired going back to the staff room, and we were picking up some type of a Wi-Fi signal in the building, but he said the Wi-Fi has been cut, which kind of weird too. But going back to the speaker systems all throughout the building, I don't, like I say, I'm not saying they were faking anything, But I asked him what they were used for, and he said they were used to play music and sounds with throughout the building. And I think he said he had even used them to try EVP sessions in the building. You know, he would talk over the speakers and see if the ghosts or spirits would respond on the different floors, which is a really cool idea. And we've done that with the Alfred app. We've kind of done the same thing remotely with EVP sessions. But I mean, I don't know. I try to look at things. You know, it's like I don't know, because we did hear what sounded like a chair moving at one point, or some type of strange noise when the kids were in there too. And it's just like I don't think there's, you know, any foul play going on, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of speakers in a in a place where we're.
One of them actually said they heard a rocking chair rock or something for a while too in one of the rooms or something. Yeah, I've been in locations too, unfortunately, where you know, I've been kind of suspect of what's, you know, I'm not going to mention the location, but I've been kind of suspect of you know, the kind of setup. You know, speakers, or in some cases cameras, because you know, you can do stuff remotely very easily.
Yeah. Not
even going, you know, hardwired in systems as well. I mean, you can have wireless stuff as long as it's the walls aren't 10 feet thick, and you can get a signal from room to room and so forth. But
sure.
I mean, there's also, you know, another thing that, you know, I'd like to try. You know, I've been kind of bouncing it off the wall here for a while, is actually doing remote EVP sessions, where actually you can just you know, put your digital recorder in a room, and you basically put your cell phone over there. You call your cell phone number from another phone, and you ask questions from your cell phone, which then goes through that cell phone, goes to the recorder, and asks the questions. So it's kind of a remote session where there's nobody in the room. I've always thought that maybe sometimes, especially if you get 4, 5, 6, 7 people or more in a room, you know, the spirits, you know, feel like they're being crowded, or, you know, their space is being intruded upon, and, you know, they're unwilling to talk. If they don't see anybody, you know, maybe they might think it's one of theirs talking to themselves, another spirit there or something, because you just hear kind of a disembodied voice. So that's something I've always wanted to try to see if we get anything that way.
We've done similar experiments in the past regarding that, not with actually using a cell phone, but we've got what is called an Alfred app, and I'll tell you about that more in detail, like when we're offline here. But yeah, it's an app you can use. It's basically like a home security system, and you can talk over this app and see video. So I can announce, you know, like over the video, I can have the phone in the room, you know, that we wanted to do the EVP session in. And yeah, we can basically talk over that and have the recorder in there and see if we get any responses over that. Plus, we can see what's going on.
Right.
So it's kind of neat too. I have to show you how that works. But we actually were gonna do like a big experiment called the Alfred experiment. We're probably gonna do that here in the future, and let everybody see that out on the live feed, and kind of do a live session to try to see if we can get interaction remotely, like you're talking about, you know, but not being on scene, you know, and placing these cameras in several different locations. We're gonna like maybe we'll put one in Bel Air Cemetery. Maybe we'll put one in the Bel Air Schoolhouse, the Kibbe General Store. You know, put them in a couple different locations, and then broadcast. You know, and ask questions. You know, and see if anything corresponds. You know, with the specific locations and so yeah, it's going to be cool. But we got to have hotspots. We're going to get enough hotspots to provide internet access to those locations too. Is the problem. So that's what we're working on right now. So.
I even worked a little bit with using baby monitors, basically, which is again, you know, they're limited range, obviously. I mean, you know, you can't do something like miles away, but you can usually do that pretty easily in a home or apartment or something like that, where you just put something like a baby monitor, which is basically it's a wireless system. And it's just funny because I was, when I was thinking about this, I actually got an email today from somebody who had sent me a photograph of something really pretty strange that I'm looking at, and she has said that there's always seems to be, which is really kind of strange. When people send me photographs, it's not to just look at this photograph. Sometimes I'm having things happening in my house at the same time. And she says she had, sounds or voices coming over her baby monitor, of a male voice. Now that happened to us. One house we were investigating, we didn't hear it, but that's one of the reasons we were called in, because The woman was in the dining room or living room watching TV. The baby monitor was there. She had a dog laying next to her. And all of a sudden, she heard a male voice come through. The dog's shackles literally came, standing straight up. He growled, looking towards the door, started to bark. So he heard it too. And the thing with baby monitors, I mean, there is a possibility, extreme as it may, that you might find another baby monitor that's exactly on the same frequency.
Right.
Usually, it's almost like astronomical that you'll see that, but I mean, I don't know how that would have worked in a place like Ashmore because of the walls and the wiring and the metal in the floors. I don't know if it might have been like maybe floor to floor. If you could stay on the same floor, but if you went from one floor to another, I don't know if you'd be able to get anything at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's entirely possible because we've had several reports of that too. People, contacting us where they're hearing things through baby monitors and different things like that. And I don't know if you remember, Dale. I remember we both kind of got involved with that one lady that called me. She was from the down south, and she thought her husband that passed away was coming over her home security camera. You remember that? Her webcam, and she was getting EVPs and stuff. And tell you the truth, I mean, we were scheduled to go down there, and I don't know if she just chickens out or what, but she always canceled us every time we started to go down. But I legitimately think still to this day she had some weird stuff going on because I listened to some of those voice clips and I don't think she could have faked them. I mean, I think there was some stuff coming over, and her husband had passed away. Wasn't it from cancer, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah, and she was really upset over it. You could tell, and I hated to hear about it. I hate when that stuff happens, but and I don't think it was just her trying to compensate for his loss. I think there was actually stuff coming through. I mean, you could hear it. She sent me multiple recordings. And I may try to touch base with her again because that kind of bothered me since then, especially when I get a case where people send me that stuff and I try to follow up on it, and then for some odd reason they cancel. Maybe it's just because they're scared that maybe we won't find anything. I don't know what it is, but she contacted.
Yeah, I think it might be simply a schism basically because people think of when the people are telling the investigators and the team what's going on, they think that what I'm telling you is so far fetched that the people I'm telling it to think I'm probably making it up or fabricating. So they say, well, if these investigators come out to my house now after I told them this wild story, and it may not be wild, it may be perfectly true, that they don't find anything, they're going to think I either faking it or I'm kind of crazy or something like that. And I see it happen over and over again with people. Well, cancel. Excuse me. I got cancer now. But the other one, if you remember, when we did that investigation with the cell phone in Indiana, where the gentleman died of a motorcycle accident, and his fiance, I think it was hearing his voice as he drove past the area where this accident took place, and only right by that area. After maybe a couple hundred feet or 50, 60 feet down the road, there was nothing, and it happened, I guess, multiple times. We tried to replicate that. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it, but there were some variables that were not exactly the same. I guess she had changed her phone. It was a different type of a phone. I'm not sure if it was the same service that she had back then, but she was calling the same person. But she wasn't calling it at approximately the right time. And I think the time difference was a little bit off, I believe, if I remember correctly, because we were there earlier, and I think it was later or something. So, I mean, if we ever wanted to do that again, I think we'd have to try to connect all these dots and get all these variables met. The time, the phone. If she could even have that phone still laying around, and or have a similar phone or something, because I think that may have a lot to do with it. That's what I was when we were investigating that. I said I had never heard of anything coming through a cell phone before. I mean, there have been studies with D. Scott Rogo called "Phone Calls from the Dead." These are all labs where people were picking up communication from the dead. But cell phone, I've never heard of that before. So that was pretty interesting when you came across that. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
we just weren't able to replicate that.
Yeah, like you say, it could be due to the frequency that cell phone, or just the different, the way that cell phone was picking up the call. I mean, it could be, like you said, I don't know, there's a lot of different variables that could have took place, and the cell phone towers. I mean, it just, who knows? But yeah, the location, the weird thing after we did that investigation into that event, I believe when she was going home that night, her car lights shut off by themselves.
Yeah, she said, yeah.
So it did.
So again, that makes me wonder that, I mean, we had people in the car that, again, weren't in the car when she had the experience. I think myself and I think Mikey was in there, and then her and then somebody else, her girlfriend, I think one was in there one time too. So again, those are variables that weren't exactly like it was when she experienced it. I think she said she was alone at the time, if I remember correctly, correct? When she got these voices and she was this conversation. So that's all, again, things that we would need to look at and try to match it as closely as we can to the actual situation that was taking place when she experienced it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm still that's still an open case in my book. I mean, I'd still like to get with her again and do some more experimentation into that. I mean, multiple times, just if we can get it to happen. I'm sure she's up for it, so, but yeah, that was just a strange case, of that her ex-boyfriend, she didn't know passed away, came over a cell phone in the particular area where he died. And at the time, her first occurrence, she had no clue he died at that location on the highway, didn't even know he was dead.
Yeah.
And he's coming over the phone talking to her, and then she finds out later, he passed away in a motorcycle wreck right there. And that's weird.
It's crazy. I mean, crazy things that happen. John Miller said here, he says, how often do you guys debunk these investigations? I mean, for myself, I mean, when I go out to locations, I don't try to necessarily debunk. I try to look for natural explanations. I just try to figure out if it's something else that's caused environmentally, if it's somebody with maybe an overactive imagination. Because many people that when they call me to do private businesses, they're not ghost investigators. I mean, they're just normal everyday people, and they have no idea what they might be picking up. They're not electricians. They're not plumbers. They're not construction workers. So I mean, there could be something in the environment. I mean, it's just as simple as seriously a noisy pipe, a crack in a window. I mean, electrical disturbance of some kind. I mean, we even went into a building one time, and an 89-year-old woman said that almost every day she was hearing this weird chirping sound in her house, and she couldn't just determine what it was. And she was by herself. She had her son come over every now and then to check on her and buy her groceries and so forth. So we went there, and she was all the way up in like the Rosemont area, which is not too far from where I live. And we walked in there, and then she says, there it is, I hear that sound. And I heard it immediately. And I walked over, and I said I knew exactly what it was. It was the battery in the smoke detector.
Yeah.
The batteries, when they go low, they start chirping. And she didn't know any better. Being 89 years old, she always had her son take care of that stuff. So basically, I replaced the battery, and I got rid of the ghost. I mean, just simple as that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I won't say I debunk them all the time. I don't know about you, but I mean, I've come across cases where I have been able to debunk and to come up with natural explanations.
Oh yeah, same here. And I'm always looking for natural explanations and always looking to debunk places. But the places I'm real hardcore on, I mean, to be honest, are places that you pay to go into, like Ashmore, like Willow's Weep, which I highly debunked, to the point where the owner got mad at me, and he's still pissed off at me. So we're on talking terms right now, but he's still mad. Some of the stuff we let out to the public regarding that, but like it's the places that have the hype to them that I go in and I look for things. Are they using speakers to broadcast across to make noises? Are they using Wi-Fi signals? Are they using RF signals to mess with people, and make them think that there's some type of electronic voice phenomena activity going on inside. Or have they got, there's even remote control objects now, like picture frames. You can actually hit a detonator and knock a picture off the wall. It's got a deal on the back of it where you can remotely access or hit this, and it'll throw a picture off the wall. It's like a trick, like a fake rigged, picture. They use them in haunted houses and they use them in, movies. I mean, that's how you do it. And you got to be extremely careful with these places that charge you a lot of money to go into, because, I mean, some of them are cool because, I mean, they're using that money to restore the places, I understand, but you got to be careful for trickery too, because they want their place to remain haunted or they're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
So, and that's the big thing, if you go in and say, oh, this place is debunked and, there's nothing going on in there, nobody else is going to pay them money, and then the place is going to go to heck. So it's kind of like a bad situation in a way, because as a paranormal investigator, I want to see these places saved, and I want people to continue to be able to go to them and pay money to help restore them. But again, I don't want fakery out there either. So I'm kind of on this thin line.
I mean, people that own these buildings, for instance, I mean, they should welcome people like us that look for natural explanations, because, I mean, not every time you go to a location, I mean, unless you're doing a paranormal TV show, you're going to find something every single time you go out.
Right.
These shows find everything every time they go someplace they find something, EVP, disembodied voices, shadow figures, whatever. There's been a lot of places that I've been to that I've never found anything. And in some cases I was able to pick up something and then be able to later either debunk it or try to replicate it. And if I couldn't replicate it, I still didn't necessarily say it was paranormal. I just said it was supernatural. I would just say it was paranormal, something I just didn't understand at the time. And these people that have these venues, they should welcome that. I mean, because you shouldn't expect, your expectations shouldn't be that high that when you go to a location that you say, I'm going to come back with amazing evidence, because a lot of times you're going to be disappointed in that.
Yeah. And I think that's how they sell them, though. Sometimes, it's like even the guides and the tour guides, I think sometimes try to sell the paranormal activity when they're taking you through, like, oh, you'll have experiences here. Oh, this happened here. There's a guy seen crawling on his belly here in this part of the prison. It's like, I think sometimes they try to oversell it to make I wouldn't call them amateurs, but the people who come in there that don't do it like we do every weekend, that come in there, they want to find something scary, where we're trying to actually scientifically research paranormal phenomena. So I think, they kind of have to sell it a little just to keep their places going, but unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a question here. It's from Christina Alspec that says, what was the deal going on with the lights that you and Jason and Allie kept seeing going on and off?
Oh, I think that was after you left, Dale.
Okay.
We were down sitting by the table again, where the shirts are on display, where you were sitting for a little while, same area. Still doing a Phasma box session, and the motion activated lights on the bunkhouses outside kept going on and off and coming through the window. I believe is what they're talking about. We kept seeing that. I don't know what was causing that. I don't know if a bat, a bird, an animal, if something was tripping that outside. But yes, we had multiple times when the lights would come on the bunkhouses outside, or the motion activated lights. And we also had one occasion where the motion activated light in the staircase on that end activated with nobody there. So that was kind of weird. But I think that's what she.
And very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that must have been after I left. Darn. I mean, I probably should have stick around a little longer. It's obviously when I leave, things get active. But
yeah.
Misty actually made a comment here about have either of you ever had anything negative follow you home? Personally, I've never had anything negative follow me home. I've had things follow me home. My wife actually saw a ghost upstairs. I think I told you a story years ago that we went to the cemetery. We were investigating the course of a little girl, and I came home, late, and this is before I had control of my sleep apnea. I was snoring like a freight train, so she was sleeping in a different room, and she got up and she saw this girl, you know, in the other room, jumped up, turned the light, and it was gone. And she asked me, "What are you guys doing last night?" I said, "We're investigating the cemetery of a little girl." Now she saw it. I wish I would have seen it, obviously, but she didn't want to see it. And it was only there at one time, and it was gone. And you know, we had some other things where people have actually sent us haunted objects that we've had experiences, and eventually those haunted objects, you know, because my wife couldn't, especially when she was by herself, she says, well, they're going to go in the garage. They're not going to be in the house anymore. So they're in the garage right now. So I don't know about you, if you've ever had any negativity follow you back home, but I've never had personally myself. I've had maybe some spirits follow me that were there for maybe a day or so, and tops, and you know, they were gone.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I would say, you know, if you would have asked me this question, I don't know, 10, even 15 years ago, I would have said no. But I have had, not, I wouldn't call it negative, but I have definitely had a ghost or spirit follow me home, I believe. You know, I've heard knocks on my wall at night after I got back from something. One night I had what felt like the covers pulled off of me. After I'd been to a haunted location, I came home, went to bed. You know, it felt like something pulled the covers off of me in the middle of the night. And again, it, like you said, it seems to only last a couple days and then it goes away. It's not like they stay or anything. I think it's just like maybe they do follow you home because they're curious and they want to know, you know, maybe they need help still. But as far as like something staying with me for a while, again, and I know I've talked about this before and I don't even like talking about it on the air, but and publicly, really. But you know, I think I've told you about this. I responded to a medical scene where a lady had been shot in the head, and after that event, that lady knew me, and I'd worked on her a couple times before in the past. You know, because she had some medical incidents where I responded to it for the fire department, and I had some strange things happen after that. I mean, just you know. That's all I'm gonna. It was just strange thing, you know. I've seen some strange things.
The thing I've always noticed, and you know, I've done a lot of research on people that have taken their lives or untimely deaths, or mostly suicides, because
this was a murder, though. She was murdered. This lady was murdered. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, murdered is a little bit different from suicide. Obviously, you know, somebody perpetrates something on another person and kills that person. So basically, I mean, it can be the same outcome, basically, that the people, because it happens so quickly, they don't realize that they're dead and they're hanging around.
Right.
But in the case of suicides, and I've studied a lot of these, you know, cases where, you know, across the country where there have been suicides in places, homes, castles, you know, wherever the case may be. There was even a case, believe it or not, and it's one of the weirdest cases that I ever came across, was in it's now called the Jane Fargo Hotel in, I believe it's in DeKalb, Illinois. It used to be called, I believe it's the Stratford Inn. And there was actually, we got the newspaper article, so it was 100% proven that this took place. There was a guy that actually ran his motorcycle full speed, like doing 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, right into a brick wall and committed suicide. And there wasn't much left of the guy. I mean, he literally punched through the wall, destroyed his bike. I mean, he just went. I can't remember if they said he had a helmet on or not, but he died instantly. And when we were investigating the building, you know, many years after this took place, on the other side of the wall, inside the building, we had a device called the talker, which is basically a very early device that Bill Chappell put together for digital dowsing. It was kind of like a you know, like a word generator, and for some reason, all of a sudden started going like like a motorcycle was going through the gears, and I go, I've never heard this device ever, you know, done that before or since, and it only happened there. And in that building, it happened a little bit later upstairs in one of the other rooms, but it was in that building, and it never happened before. And I go, that's pretty crazy. So, I mean, I think people that commit suicide, I mean, you got to be, I hate to say, you got to be not in your right mind, you know, to obviously want to take your life. I mean, you got to be, mentally deranged. I don't know what the proper, psychological term might be, but depression, or whatever the case may be, that you're so depressed that you're going to give up this beautiful life, and not only probably destroy yourself, but hurt many others that were close to you at the same time. And
yeah,
I think that sometimes even I think places that have suicides associated with them more often are more haunted than actually the murder sites, because again, this is an individual doing it to himself, and it's that state of mind at the time when you did it. It's just that moment before when am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? You put the gun to your head or whatever, and you shoot yourself. It's that type of energy that just hangs around, I think.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the fact that the emotions that we carry with us in this life, if we don't get rid of those emotions and take care of those emotions, you can even carry them on into the afterlife. Or if you believe in reincarnation, whatever the next life, or I'm not saying I believe in reincarnation, but I think if you can, if ghosts or spirits or the soul survives the body, that these emotions can survive too. And I think that's what happens, like you're saying, in suicide situations. They've got this depression built up, and then when they do it, there's probably so much guilt that they didn't realize how this is going to affect their family, how this is going to affect their kids. And it's the living that have to deal with the suicide, not the dead.
Right.
The living ones are the ones that are affected by that situation. So I think and if that ghost and spirit can hang around and see how it affects the living, I think that's why they're so strong trying to communicate with the living, saying I'm sorry, I'm sorry I did this, that type of thing. It's a lot of psychology. That's what people don't understand about paranormal research too. I mean, you got to dive into the human mind and the psychology of just people. You've got to know a lot about psychology, and we're like crime scene investigators and detectives. We're looking into the psychological mindset of these people that we investigate, whether they're dead or alive, whether we're interviewing the people experiencing this, or we're trying to interview the people that are dead through EVP sessions. So I mean, it's I truly believe those emotions survive death, and I think that's part of the problem with the suicide locations. They're so strong emotionally that they're trying to get across, and they're trying to make this activity happen. So 100%.
Yeah, unfortunately, it strikes very close to home for me, because my dad committed suicide actually, when I was 9 years old. And, apparently from, I didn't find out, all the aspects. They weren't going to tell a 9-year-old basically what had happened. They just said your dad died, and whatever. They tried to cover it up for many years. Obviously, as I grew older, I found out, what took place and everything. And, but I mean, if you looked at the guy, my dad, I mean, he had every reason to live for. I mean, the guy was a musician. He had actually wrote songs for Mahalia Jackson, the gospel singer. He had wrote many songs on his own. He actually had at one time met Marty Robbins, the country western singer at the Grand Ole Opera, and Marty Robbins was interested in his work. All different interesting songs that my dad wrote throughout the years. And you would never know that there was underlying factor. I mean, he just wasn't happy, and I guess he probably should have seen a counselor or something like that, or some sort of crisis intervention to keep him from doing that. Because I still say to this day, if he would have lived, he died. He's only 47 years old, so I've already outlived him. But I mean, all the stuff he could have produced and what he could have gave the world is just a loss, because he's gone now. And just looking at him, you never know he was somebody capable of something like that. And that's the problem with suicides, unfortunately, is that people walking down the street, you see 10 people, you can say pick out 2 or 3 that commit suicide. It'd be hard to do. It's just there's no facial factors or MO behind that. It's just that you're depressed, or you got some sort of emotional problems that need to be worked out.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. First off, Dale, I didn't know that, and that's bad. I'm sorry you had to go through that, and
Yeah, my brother was actually 4 years younger than me, so he was 4 going on 5, so he didn't even know his dad at all. And
yeah,
sister was older, and my sister was like 7 years older, so she was like she was 12, 13. So I mean, she had a better grasp on it than we did back then. But yeah, thank you. It's just it's part of life. I've moved on with it. I've always thought though, and I don't know if I will ever actually ever think of doing this. I've often thought of just going to my parents' graves and to see what I might be able to pick up, because see, not that you really want to investigate something like that, but I mean, it's maybe
right.
a little bit of closure on my side to see if something might come through about that. Maybe something might not come through, because I mean, I don't even remember what my dad sounded like, except for just some clips that we had around here. We had a Christmas tape that he made on a big bulky open reel-to-reel tape recorder back in 1959, with my brother and me and my sister talking, and that's the only soundbite I have of my dad, which fortunately I was able to save that, because the tape was literally falling apart from being so many years old, 50 60 years old, and so I was able to save that and at least transfer that to where I have that forever. But it's just that kind of emotion. I think that and it's not like I've ever seen my dad or seen his ghost or anything like that. So it may not happen to everybody that commits suicide, that gets murdered. I mean, there are certain circumstances, I guess, that might just have to be ripe for that to happen.
Yeah. Can I ask you something kind of personal about that? Or, I mean,
go right ahead. Yeah.
I mean, has that affected the way? I mean, does that, when you investigate a case where we've got a suicide or something, does it make it kind of personal? I mean, does it affect the way you kind of look at that, and like, because I mean, you've kind of been through that yourself. I mean, maybe you got more experience. I mean, definitely with that, and knowing the emotions behind that. I mean, has it helped you maybe investigate suicide locations?
Well, believe it or not, this is really kind of funny. I mean, I've never really even thought about it. When I get involved with that, it happened so long ago. I mean, I was 9 years old. I mean, that's I'm going to be 68 this year. That's almost 60 years ago. So I mean, it's something that was a long time ago when I was just growing up, and so I don't think it really affects me any one way or the other. I mean. It may be way back here in the back of my head somewhere, but it's not really something I bring forward when I'm investigating.
Right. Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, but yeah, I hate to hear that. I'm sorry about your loss and everything.
And I didn't want to make this all about me, by the way. So I mean, all the people that are saying so sorry, Dale, I appreciate that. But we just got talking about it, and I just thought I'd just kind of share that little thing with you, that it did happen to my family, and so it's unfortunate, but I mean, life goes on, and that's the best way I just try to do it. Just make sure that it doesn't happen again to other people that I know, or that always try to tell people, if you're having an issue now, you need to see somebody. But
I mean, I appreciate you sharing that with us. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm sorry for your loss. Like, I've had probably, I think I'm up to 6 friends now that have committed suicide. Like, probably that 5 of them I'd call pretty close. So I've kind of dealt with that too a little. Never like a close family member like you've had, but yeah, I've had a few friends commit suicide.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's a interesting little post here by Luke Massey. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes.
But he said, I had a friend, his brother killed himself, and he came through his girlfriend's dreams and was crying about how sorry he was for killing himself, and explained that heaven and such in the dream. But my friend's biggest fear was that he may have been stuck and didn't know where he was, heaven or hell. And well, I think he answered his concerns in that dream. So
that's pretty interesting.
It's kind of crazy because, see, I was raised in one of the reasons I got involved with the paranormal. I don't want to make it about the Dale Kaczmarek show, by the way. But one of the reasons I got involved was to try to prove the existence of life after death. So if I thought if I could say prove a ghost, a surviving personality, that would be one step to proving that there's life after death. Even though we all believe, I think most of us believe it as Christians or whatever, that there is some sort of life after death or some something beyond what we here on Earth, especially people that are into ghost research, because otherwise, why would you be researching spirits if you didn't survive the body?
Right.
So that was one of the reasons I really kind of got involved with the paranormal to begin with, was to just to kind of prove that the existence of life after death.
Yeah, same here. Same exact thing. I mean, I started like back in the day researching like ancient religions and different religions, and I got into, you know, like what actually does happen to us, you know, after we die. I started, you know, getting into studying all that stuff, and it kind of got me into the paranormal part of it, you know, because I was like, well, I can sit here and study these books, and I mean, I read everything from the Holy Bible to the Quran to the Kabbalah. I mean, I tried to find every religious text I could find, the Book of Enoch, the lost books of the Bible. I mean, Egyptian Book of the Dead. You know, I've tried to read everything I could possibly read regarding religion, ancient religions. And, you know, I come to the point, the common thread is they all believe in the immortality of the soul, you know, but it was like, I wanted proof.
Right.
I don't know what, you know. So I started on this quest to, you know, investigate this and try to prove there is life after death. And I would say in my, you know, my whatever years I've been doing it now, you know, 20, 25 years, that I've kind of proved to myself there is. You know, through the EVPs I've captured and the things I've seen and heard. I don't know what else it could be other than souls of other people surviving this body. You know, because I don't know where these voices are coming from. You know, are they? I don't think they're mentally projected from us going onto these devices. They've got to be coming from somewhere. So I mean, I think if all else fails, I proved it to myself. But I would like to, you know, I would like to prove it to everybody. You know, not to fear death. Don't scare. You know, don't be scared of dying, because I truly believe there is something on the other side. So,
see, when I'm being raised a Catholic, and being a very impressionable 7 or 8 year old, you know, when I went to church, and my family would always go to church every Sunday. They'd go to church on Easter, on Christmas, on Palm Sunday, on Ash Wednesday, and all these different celebrations. And you know, I was always told as a youngster, you know, back then, that there was a heaven, there was a hell, and there was something in between called a purgatory. And I always questioned that, being a 7-year-old. Well, what does that mean? And the priest, you know, and I'll never forget that the priest kind of said, you're trying to bring it down to my level, you know, a few 25 words or less, saying that, you know, purgatory was some place that you were not good enough for heaven, but not bad enough for hell. It was kind of like a holding pattern in between. And I said, okay, I didn't, you know, being a 7-year-old, you know, I don't question authority, and I was told to respect my elders. So I said, okay, fine, I go with that. And I kept that, you know, premise for, you know, many years, even when I was in the Army as a chaplain's assistant. But it was later when I began getting involved with the paranormal that makes perfect sense. I mean, souls of the dead that may be communicating with us, we might be capturing on pictures, on EVPs or videos, or having, you know, sensations of being touched, or getting a whiff of something, hearing something. You know, they're not in heaven, they're not in hell. They're kind of in an earthbound scenario, which might be in between. There might be that purgatory. So
exactly.
In some cases, it might be a self-made purgatory. Maybe, you know, and I've talked to psychics that say that, you know, again, this is, you know, take it as you will. But psychics that I've worked with and other people say that sometimes they've communicated with people that say that they're afraid to move on because of what they did in this lifetime, and then they didn't repent maybe before they left this earth, and they're scared that they're going to be, you know, sent to hell, so they hang around. You know, others might be trying to, you know, be helpful to people, maybe kind of like almost like a guardian angel, or kind of checking in on people, kind of just dropping in like a visitation apparition. So when you put that whole heaven, hell, and purgatory in the context of paranormal research, to me it makes perfect sense, because those spirits are not in heaven, they're not in hell, they're a non-corporeal being in a corporeal earthbound scenario where we live, and they shouldn't be here. It's not natural for spirits to hang around. So there are reasons, and untimely death being one of the top reasons. So that's kind of my whole perspective as growing up, and then of course later on, kind of putting this into a context where I could understand it, and to me it makes sense.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't have dove as deep as I did into the study of ancient religions and stuff, because like I found out a lot of stuff I probably shouldn't have. Sometimes I just wish I didn't know some of the things I know or have read or found out. So it's like I probably dove into it a little deep. But like, yeah, I agree that it's weird you said the word repent, because I don't know if I told you the story about the EVP I captured about the repent. Maybe I have, but I was at my house actually, and we always get help me. That's our most common thing. Help me. Yeah, and it's going into these like we're talking about. Do these ghosts and spirits realize what's happened to them and where they're at? Like like Luke was saying, maybe they're confused, maybe they don't know where they're at. But I asked the question, I said, how can I help these ghosts and spirits? How can I help you guys? And I got a clear EVP, a clear response, out of thin air that said, help them repent. And I mean, that's still stuck with me to this day. It's like, because that's what it told me, to help them repent. And this is a weird story. I think I may have told this on the air before I told you about it. I know I've told several people, but I had that EVP on my recorder. I don't remember putting it on my computer. I don't remember how this happened. I had a desktop computer, back in the day, sitting on my counter, and I was sleeping in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden, back in the day, this is to tell you how old this was. It was Cool Edit before Adobe Edition came out. You remember that program?
Oh yeah, I remember that. I got a copy myself.
Yeah, it was Cool Edit, and it comes across there, and it starts playing that that voice in the middle of the night. It woke me up. It was like on repeat. It was like, help them repent. Help them repent, like in the middle of the night. Woke me up out of a dead sleep. And apparently they want me to know that. They wanted me to know that message. But just that's one of the things. See, I mean, there's so many things that have happened during what I call my career as a paranormal investigator or ghost hunter, that stick out in my mind, and that's one of them, that still haunts me literally to this day.
That's like, for instance, again, me being raised as a Catholic, and I don't want to bring too much, it's religion, paranormal. It's always like I kind of say like separation of church and state, but I always say separation of the paranormal and religion because they're separated and not really mashed together because of all the different belief systems out there and different religions and so forth. But again, when I had aunts and uncles and grandmothers and grandfathers die, they would always pray for them, and they would always, especially in the Catholic religion, they would purchase masses for prayers for the dead and so forth. And again, being a young child, I never really, just talked to anybody about it, but I always kind of said in the back of my mind, why are they praying for the people when they're already dead? I mean, they've already moved on. They're in heaven, they're hell, wherever they're at, they've moved on. And it wasn't until, again, much later in my life when I began working with a psychic named Pat Shenberg, who unfortunately is also in the spirit world now. She's a great friend of mine. We worked together for starting way back in 1982 on the very first investigation ever done at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. And she started out as a healer, and she would heal people. And she said in the course of healing, she would sometimes see apparitions because she was clairvoyant as well, so she could see things. And she had a huge resume. I mean, she was a past president of the Illinois Society for Psychic Research. She actually worked on and has a resume of using hands-on healing and some of the this is back, I think, in the 1990s of some of the some of the Chicago White Sox pitchers and pitching elbow that kind of gets kind of hurt after a while, and they put hands on. She had this big long resume, and she never really she always said, well, why am I seeing spirits in the course of healing? And she wanted to explore that. And then I gave a talk back on May in 1982 at the Illinois Society for Psychic Research. And it was actually my first paid presentation, by the way. I got my little $50 check still framed in my office here. And we began working together at that point. And one of the things she always explained to me, she said that when we were on a television show, in fact, one of the first television shows I was actually on WBBM TV in Chicago here, called Common Ground. And if you ever saw that show, I think I posted it on my timeline. Watch that, and you'll see how absolutely nervous Mr. Kaczmarek is. I mean, I'm just all nerves because I didn't know what to say, and I kind of stumbled on my words and everything. But anyway, she kind of said that again. One thing that she noticed is that the most profound thing in contacting spirits that she came across is for these spirits were always asking for prayer. They said, pray for me, pray for me. And she said, in her opinion, and I have no reason to doubt this because I have seen this woman point out stuff to me that she has absolutely no way of knowing. It took her to Bachelor's Grove, but she's never been there in her lifetime. And read the transcript on my website, ghostresearch.org at Bachelor's Grove, and it's amazing what she picked up. She said that she believed that prayer was what also very often helped these spirits move on to the other side. A simple prayer. And that's why maybe the Catholic Church, and not just Catholic Church, but because I'm Catholic, I recognize it more so than others, but I'm sure Protestant and Jewish and Muslim and Buddhist or whatever, they have a certain type of experience with that. And prayer, she said, was one thing that she heard so many times. And then fast forward that another 10 or 15, 20 years down the line, what we pick up, like you were saying earlier, help me, help me, I need help. I always ask, you always hear me ask, what kind of help do you need? Yeah. To get a response for that. And I don't think I've ever heard pray for me or prayer or anything like that. I mean, you have, I think you just mentioned that a second ago, repent and everything. I've never heard that come through, but we've always heard help. And of all the words, as you said, that come through the Obelisk or the Ghost Box or the Phasma Box or the Paratech or whatever, it's help. It's help me. So I really believe that, people can be a great assistance to spirits that are still lingering around, just to pray for them. And I'm gonna get off my religious pulpit now.
No, you're fine. I mean, there's power in that. People, power in prayer. A lot of the religions believe that. So I mean, it makes sense. What you're saying.
See if we got any good.
I think you're going a little.
What's that? What'd you say?
Go ahead. You were going a little blurry on my end. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, go ahead if there's any questions.
I was just trying to see if anybody had posted anything here on the feed here. Len Dorman, you know Len Dorman, my friend Len Dorman from Arkansas, and he's posted a couple of things here, which is kind of interesting. He says, churches around Arkansas don't believe in purgatory. People are just sleeping, waiting for Christ to call them home all at once. And again, that could be, different interpretations of different religions. I know when I went down to the South, particularly Kentucky and Tennessee, way back in the 1980s and early 1990s, and I was doing research out there, and I would talk to people. Sometimes it would be just locals, maybe the manager of the hotel where I was staying, or some person down at the county country store. or at the local gas station, excuse me, and ask them about, have you heard of this story? This ghost story, this woman seen at the cemetery. Can you tell me where it is? And right away they kind of do, like this, like, wait a second, you're talking about spirits, you're talking the ghosts. I mean, that's the work of the devil. That's the work of the demons. I mean, again, I'm not going to douse water in anybody's religion, but it's in an area called the Bible Belt down there, where they're very, and a lot of them are Southern Baptist. And I, again, being a chaplain's assistant, I had to know how to set up and to understand, all the different religions. And we had some really good ones. I mean, we had, the Catholics, we had Methodists, we had Southern Baptists, we had Eastern Orthodox, we had Greek Orthodox, and we had African Methodist Episcopal. So, I mean, and this was way back in the 70s when, I've never heard of an African Methodist Episcopal. It was a nice black minister, a very nice guy. So, I mean, again, each of the different, religions have their own idea of the afterlife to a point. I mean, we all have an afterlife, but how we get there and what we do in between here, just like Len said, they don't believe that. But and then there's another one. This is, what about mediums? How do you guys feel about them? Do they have a special trait to where they can see the dead? Have you ever worked with psychics and mediums in the past? I mean, not just people. Not just people that were claimed to be intuitive, but actual, psychics or mediums. Have you?
Oh yeah. I mean, we've worked with them in the past, and especially a lot of people that claim to be that. But like I say, if they claim to be that, I mean, they have to show me extraordinary evidence. If they're picking up stuff through, me doing historical research, and them corresponding with something I find in historical research that there's no way they could have known. How many people died in a fire, what year it was, all that stuff, what they look like. But yeah, I try to get verification if I ever do work with psychic and mediums, but I do not and will not use psychic mediums on as evidence for a paranormal research team. That's why we choose not to use psychic and mediums, because I can't present that evidence to the public, even if they do know what they're talking about. I mean, anybody can make anything up, so it's not scientific evidence I can present to the public that, hey, something's going on here. So we choose not to use psychic mediums like on our actual investigations, but I have worked with them, and we've done experiments into them and actually studied them. And I actually talked about this on a recent show, how we were going to do maybe some more experiments regarding psychic mediums. But I know you've probably dealt with them more than what I have, Dale, just because I kind of try to stay away from them, just because I try to do the whole scientific.
Well, I was actually lucky to work with two people that were very gifted. Like I said, Pat Chenberg before, I told you about, but after that I worked with, and I'm just going to use her first name because she really doesn't want to be identified. And to me, that's one
good one.
One big plus. Okay?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
They don't have a website. They don't have a Facebook page. Yeah. They don't advertise. Okay, people know how to get a hold of them. Policemen know how to get a hold of them. Her name was Trudy, and I worked with her. And she had actually worked with the police of missing persons cases in the past. She had worked on the Atlanta child murder cases. She actually worked here in Illinois of the Melissa Ackerman and Gina Carrico cases back in the 1990s, I believe, where Brian Dugan, who was eventually convicted of both those crimes, later confessed. She was called in on that particular case, and I was actually, believe it or not, I was assisting in a way. She had actually got a hold of one of the last objects that Melissa Ackerman had touched, which was a white toy unicorn. And so she brought it over, and at that time I was using a lot of infrared black and white film, and I was getting some pretty, what I call phenomenal results of shadow figures and dark images and things that just weren't there to the naked eye. And she said, well, why don't you try photographing, this unicorn with infrared film. So I set up a number of experiments down here in my basement using all different types of films and different exposures, different types of lenses and filters. And it was interesting. On only a couple of pictures, I got something that looked like, and I'm just going to describe it. Maybe you'll immediately figure out what it is. Long white things and short black things.
I don't know. I'd have to see it.
Piano keys.
Oh, piano keys?
Piano keys. Long white piano keys and short black piano keys.
Oh, yeah.
And they appeared in there. And Trudy was not only a psychic and actually got a cassette that she produced of some songs that she actually wrote. So she wasn't really like, you know, the Rolling Stones or something like that. I mean, she didn't produce something, but she had a couple of good songs on this kind of a CD. I used to call them cassette singles back then. And she gave it to me, and she said when she looked at those piano keys, they played a certain melody or a certain, you know, kind of like a vibration, because each key is a different kind of, in a way, a different frequency, a different high or a low. And she said that she went to the police afterwards, and she said that, and this is where psychics often get a bad rap because they're very cryptic. I see the letter B. It's near water. There's a railroad track nearby. It's going to be a busy road. I mean, it's so cryptic, it could fit into so many scenarios. Well, she came up to the police. I think I might have told you a story. But she said the body is going to be found at the nose of a dolphin.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me.
So now that's just crazy. It's just crazy. Okay, they go, huh? But they, you know, they jotted it down, and you know, eventually they found the body. And when they did aerial photography, aerial surveillance of you know, satellite maps, the way the roads converged, it looks like a bottlenose dolphin. And right at the tip of that dolphin's nose is where that body was found. So it was a very cryptic message, but it was absolutely true. Now, to come across psychics like that, it's once in a lifetime. I got a call from her one day. We only worked on a few cases because she got married, she moved away, and I lost my great psychic. But she actually, believe it or not, invited me to the wedding. And I only known her for a couple of months, and she invited me to the reception and all that. And I felt, you know, great. I mean, I didn't even know this woman barely, except for through what we were doing with psychic stuff. And so, you know, she kind of moved away. I kind of lost track of her. But, you know, one day I got a call from her, and she said, and I'll never forget it, and I may get goosebumps as I say this. She got on the phone and she said just a few words, Dale, I think we have the real thing. And I go, oh, wow, and I got goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps right now when I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
For her to say that, it was like she was saying that, okay, I mean, you know, I believe we were already on the trail of a ghost, of some sort of surviving personality. And that's the very famous case. You might have read about it in Orland Hills, the Orland Hills poltergeist, where all that phenomena took place of the burning sulfur smells, the microwave cords burning up in the walls, the being seen by state fire marshals and that had 45 years experience. We were actually brought into the Orland Hills Fire Department. I walked into the room, and the first thing they did is they closed all the blinds. I go, what's going on? And I'm sitting there meeting her, and I don't know why. Maybe I should have turned the tape recorder on. This would have been phenomenal stuff. But they said, first, whatever you say cannot leave this room. So I knew they meant business.
Yeah.
They gave us both a gag order. And they began telling us all this stuff and presenting all this evidence. And they go, this one guy goes, I've been a state fire marshal for 45 years. And I can't explain this. And this other guy, he's a state fire marshal inspector and an arson expert and the chief of police and the chief of the fire department. And all these experts that probably had a couple of 100 years worth of fire experience. And for you as a first responder, that's probably, you know, kind of get what I'm talking about, having all this experience in the room and saying all this. but and they wanted our opinion of what was going on, and we suggested that there may be something going on. I thought right away it was a poltergeist phenomenon, maybe caused by somebody, because there was a 13-year-old girl there at the time, a perfect scenario. And so at the time we were doing this, all of a sudden, because before this, there had been at least a dozen or maybe 14, 15 calls to have the fire department go out there to get the sulfur smell out of the house, and smoke and smoldering and all kind of strange stuff. And they got tired going back and forth, but we were sitting there with them when another call came in. And the chief of fire department says, do you want to come with? I go, duh, yeah, of course I want to come with. He said, but I can't let you out of the car because you can't bring in an official yet because they don't have permission, but you can sit there and observe. So I got out of the car, and the people had been seeing fire trucks pull up to this place for months and months. And I got out of the car, and I'm kind of mingling with the crowd, and I'm hearing everybody kind of pointing to the house, and you go, that house is haunted. There's ghosts. All this kind from all the neighbors, because nobody else in the neighborhood was having any experiences.
Yeah.
Well, eventually, they brought us back, and they said, well, we have no reason to doubt what you're saying. We don't have any other natural explanation for this. We've ruled out everything, literally ruled out everything. Commonwealth Edison, Nicor, Hewlett Packard. I mean, they were all out there, and they couldn't figure anything out. They actually found out that during the construction of the building, when they were digging the basement, they unearthed several skeletal remains of humans, which they later denied when the story went public. But I was there, and I heard them say that. Eventually, the house was torn down by the Travelers Insurance Group. The people were given a settlement. They moved elsewhere. A new house was built right on top of that. Nothing has happened since that time. We were never able to get in there. And it was just an amazing case. And if it wasn't because probably that Trudy had worked in the past with fire and police, I may never have been brought in that case. So it's just another example of sometimes working with psychic can be beneficial. Now, we don't often do that in our work because when we go to a location initially, it's like a fact-finding mission. We're trying to see what's going on, to gather the facts, gather evidence, debunk or find a natural explanation where we can, and give the people our report, evidence, our recommendations. And then usually at that time, the people are either going to want to take it to the next level. They're either going to say, okay, fine, I think it's Uncle Joe, it's my mom, it's my dad, fine, I don't want them to leave, they're welcome to stay here. Because a lot of people just want a verification that they're not going crazy, so they call in the Ghostbusters, right?
Yep.
But then others are just terrified, and they want the stuff to stop immediately. And rather than us trying to work as a scientific team and also a psychic team, which I don't like doing, I like to stay more scientific. That's where I might bring in a psychic or a medium or a clairvoyant to, at that point, try to make direct communication and just convince the ghost to move on to the other side. And and that's where I would come up with these psychics that I've worked with in the past. And in many cases, when we were there, we never got a complaint of anything else going on. And I don't know what she did. She never really explained it to me, which was kind of crazy. But she, especially Pat Schenberg, I mean, she was a little mystical, but she never really explained how she was able to accomplish that. But it seemed to work, whatever she did. And so, I mean, we have people in our group that are somewhat intuitive, but they're not, full-blown psychics. And I would never suggest, if you're a paranormal team, bringing in a psychic on your initial investigation, because again, you're just there to gather facts and to get the history, talk to the clients, do an investigation, collect any data or evidence, analyze it, and give it back to the clients. And then you might find out that, as you say, in some cases, it could be rigged up by the people to be hoaxes, or it could be perfectly natural explanations. I've never come across a case yet where they tried to fake or pull something over, the wool over my eyes, except in the case of paranormal photographs that I get every now and then. But investigations, I would say no. So Kind of a long-winded, explanation about psychics and how I worked with them in the past. It's just that they're hard to come by. True, good psychics are really hard to come by. And it's not the ones you dial on the 1-800-psychic network. Or they're advertising the little clips in the Sun-Times or the Tribune and saying they're psychics and they're healers. You have to find them through word of mouth, through police departments, police stations, that they work with missing persons, and those are the ones you need to try to hook up with. And in some cases, like I say, in working with psychics has really been an eye-opening experience, especially bringing psychics to locations that they've never been to. That's how I test a psychic. I'll bring a psychic or a clairvoyant or a medium or someplace to a place that they have never been to. So obscure, and in your area, there are a lot of obscure places where you are down in Crawford County in that area, that you could take a person that they absolutely, they've never been there before, and just say, okay, tell me what you feel. Tune into the location and give me some history, psychic ability, and see what they come up with. And that's how I did it. And I'll tell you, both of these psychics were just dynamite. Like I say, read the thing on Pat Schenberg on my website.
Okay.
But reading the one time that we investigated a home, she said, before I even go there, because I always did all the talking with all the clients. I always psychics in ice cold. I never told them anything except, hey, we're going to a place that's supposedly haunted, and that's what they know already. So that's where they have no preconceived notions of what's going on. They don't go to a specific room, to the basement, to the creepy attic. They just go to the house. And I think that way is the best way to do that as far as testing psychics. They're able to get some feelings that in impressions and words and names and so forth, it begins to add up. When we went to that one location, said, well, before I get there, I'm going to tell you that the woman, her favorite color is predominantly purple, and there's a lot of different colors of the rainbow, and she actually drew a picture of her bedroom. Okay, here's the windows, here's the closet, here's the bed, here's the dresser. This is what I'm going to walk into, she said. Okay, when we got there, I actually have a picture of her, one of the few pictures I have of Trudy in action, opening the closet and pulling out all the purple dresses that are in the closet, lined up, almost entirely purple. The room wasn't exactly right. It was 180 degrees around. So in other words, she wasn't looking at the room as we would physically walk through the door.
Right.
She was looking at the room remotely as she was looking from the outside of the house looking in.
Right.
Called remote viewing.
Oh yeah.
And she had literally picked up that room. It literally flipped 180 degrees around. Everything was in the proper sequence. The bed was here, the closet was here, the bureau was over here. Whatever. It was perfect. And when I saw that, I go, wow. I mean, it blew my mind. Literally. I mean, you can always say, well, yeah, some women like purple, some women like red. I mean, that could be hit or miss, but I mean, it's not like just black and white. I mean, it's just rainbow colors. But seeing a room like that was pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're going back into testing them. We've tested several people that claim to be psychics or mediums in the same way you said. I'll actually take them to locations where I know that something took place, whether it be a murder or suicide or some type of accident or something where we know, there's some type of phenomenon or strange event that took place. And we won't tell them anything. We'll see what they can get. We've tested them, I don't know, at least a dozen or more people like that, that have claimed to have psychic abilities, and very few have impressed me. Maybe a couple, I would say, legitimately may have something.
Yeah.
But, 9 times out of 10, it'd just be like somebody wanting attention, like you said, the Miss Cleos on the 1-800 hotlines.
Yeah, exactly.
And you very rarely find somebody that that's really gifted to where they can do that stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I think a lot of people want to be, and I mean, I almost truly believe maybe anybody can tap into it if they meditate and do that type of stuff. But to a certain extent, I mean, I think we all are a little bit, through dreams and maybe you get that vision flash in your head of a deer crossing the road up in front of you, and you going up and the deer crosses, that type of stuff. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I think I truly believe the phenomena is real. It's just proving it scientifically and proving it to the scientific community that this exists.
Well, that's the biggest thing. I mean, the scientific community goes into this field with blinders on, pretty much. I mean, they want these experiments. They want ghosts to be able to be brought back to the laboratory, where they can study them under scientific conditions, under a controlled environment. And as you and I both know, and many people, that's just not possible. I mean, they have tried that in the past in locations where they've tried experiments. They even tried, there was a book years ago written by a Canadian paranormal team called Conjuring Up Philip, which was a book where they actually tried to create a ghost, give him a name, give him a history, give him a lineage. And they say it actually worked. They were able to get table tipping, and they were able to get stuff through the Ouija board and all kind of strange stuff. So I mean, the scientific community, and then especially those that, and I'm not going to mention your names, but I mean all these skeptics out there, and I know you know which ones I'm talking about, especially when he used to walk around with $1 million check in his hand on his pocket that said, if this was yours, if you can conclusively prove the existence of paranormal phenomena, but under my conditions, under laboratory conditions. And of course, that check was never cashed. Probably would have bounced anyway, but who knows? Scientific community, I mean, that's why parapsychology in general gets a bad name, a bad rap from that, because parapsychology is not just a study of ghosts and hauntings and poltergeist phenomena. It mostly gets into the psyche of the human mind. It gets into ESP, precognition, clairvoyance, remote viewing, all these different telekinesis, all these things that are that we can produce, that we can then be brought into a laboratory, okay, because we're not a ghost, we're a living person. We can be brought in and studied. It's those fringe areas, the ghosts, the haunting, and poltergeist phenomena. Poltergeist phenomena can sometimes be studied because it's usually created by a living person, but the hauntings and ghosts is something that we have no control of. We can't build a device like Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and trap ghosts and bring them into a laboratory condition and then test them and talk to them or something. That's just not possible. But there was another question here by Penny that says, do you ever get fear me on the Paratech quite often? She gets it quite often, she said. But
yeah, I do. I get that quite a bit. I usually don't think anything of it when it says that, because we do get fear me a lot on the Paratech. The Paratech is really strange. Like, you got to know what's intelligent communication and what's corresponding with the situation you're in or the place you're investigating, because it'll throw out a lot of words that are fake, that aren't corresponding with anything you're doing. You got to separate the weird stuff from the random words it generates. And I think that's kind of like the obelisk too. Sometimes it'll spit out a word that just doesn't even make sense, with where you're at. But then sometimes it will hit on 2 or 3 words that are just, oh my. You might be sitting in a school and it might go school, teacher, chalkboard, all in a row. That's what you're looking for on Paratech too, and the obelisk. You're looking for maybe a combination of words that come together like that, that is kind of more than just some random words popping up. But yeah, we do get fear me a lot. Sometimes that Paratech just pops up words that just amaze me because I don't even know it's in the dictionary of that device. It's just strange.
I mean, we used to get quite a bit on the obelisk in dictionary mode. We used to get the word cupcakes. And I go, well, that's kind of strange. And I was hoping the obelisk would have said cupcakes when we were over there at the Ashmore.
Yeah.
All the kids brought in cupcakes. So that was the first time that I ever had cupcakes in a paranormal setting. I've never had cupcakes in a paranormal. Even going to the gas station and trying to buy some Hostess cupcakes or something, I've never had that. So I was hoping, I was saying, hey, come, bring cupcakes now. That would be very, very relevant to where we were at and what was going on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Let's see. What else we got here?
If you guys are just tuning in, I'll let Dale read here, but if you guys are just tuning in, my internet went out and I'm trying this from a mobile device tonight. So if it looks a little different, that's what's going on. So I am sitting somewhere because I lost internet signal at my house where I usually do the show from. So I am doing this from a mobile side and a mobile device. So let me know how, it looks and sounds. Heck, maybe it's better, like I said before. But I can't read the comments. That's why Dale is doing this for me right now. He can see all this. So I'm relying on Dale here for these questions and comments of you guys. So.
Well, Tammy just asked again, my website is ghostresearch.org, www.ghostresearch.org. There was another question here. Again, I think we might have answered this. This might have been a late tune-in or something. Have you guys ever been attacked by a spirit or scratched?
Yeah.
I've never been scratched. I don't want to brag, but in 45 years worth of research, I've only been touched a handful of times. I mean, I was poked in the back one time in a cave in Red Bowling Springs, Tennessee. I had my hair played with very gently. I had a stroke across the face. And then I had my butt grabbed over at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which I think I told you that story. You can actually see that clip, by the way, on my website. But I don't think in all those cases it was malicious. I think it was either we were crowding the space of the ghost and they wanted us to just move along down the road, or I believe the other way, that's the only way that they could say, hey, I'm here, is to reach out and touch you. Usually it's through sounds, and sometimes, we'll say, we'll hear a sound. What is that? That's just a car outside. But it may not be. It may be something else. So then the spirit says, okay, now I got to find another way to get your attention. Maybe I'll have a real bad, pukey smell come through here. And then you're going to say, oh, wait, that's just a source system. Okay. So then the spirit says, well, then I'm just going to reach out and just grab you. Then try to explain that now. And that has happened, believe it or not, at least once or twice to me when we tried to explain different things away. And it just kind of progressed. Not that it was getting malicious, but it was getting like, I got to find a way to let these people know that I'm here. So I'm going to make sure that everybody knows, definitively there's a spirit here. And that's happened. I don't know if this ever happened to you. Have you ever? Have you been scratched? I mean,
I've never been scratched. No. I do believe I have been touched several times by things. I mean, nothing that would scare me, like more like light, like just light brushes against your face, or like maybe a tug on your shirt and a tug on my blue jeans, something like that. Nothing malicious, nothing that I thought was bad. And I don't know if like I said, I think we've talked about this a little before, the whole scratch phenomena. I'm kind of like not a big believer in it because, I mean, most of the time I think people scratch themselves. It shows up later. They think a ghost scratched them, or they, like I say, we had one case where we shoved a guy. It was a poor farm about like Ashmore. One of my team members shoved one of my other team members up into the crawl space because we didn't have a ladder, and he pushed him up in there. And then he come back down, and he started sitting there for a minute. He goes, oh, my back's burning. He lifted his shirt up. There were scratch marks down his back. Well, I think it's from when my other team member pushed him up into the crawl space, and he actually scratched him, and he didn't realize it until he got back down, that sort of thing. But, yeah, I think 9 times out of 10, the scratches are not paranormal. I think it's probably, somebody was scratched, didn't realize they were scratched, and then all of a sudden it's a ghost.
Well, I think also there could be another explanation, too, and I see that a lot on some of these paranormal shows on TV, which I'm not going to mention because I don't want to give any plug for their shows here. But you see that all the time. That's one person will get scratched, and then maybe 10 minutes later, somebody got their hair tugged, and then somebody else will feel like they're being shoved down the stairs. And it's to me, it's like each person trying to be at that point the center of attention. That something just happened to me. It's probably scripted, in the show, but I mean, it's just like it moves from person to person. And I've never been on an investigation where I've had, multiple people have that kind of experience. I mean, it's extremely rare for that to happen, because if you think if it's coming from a spirit, I mean, it's got to have some sort of energy that's creating that. I mean, if there's going to be some physical marks on your body, think about the amount of energy it's going to take to do that. I mean, did you literally come in contact with something, or is it the energy of the ghost creating the scratches? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
The same with how they manifest, or how they, if we hear them or we smell them. Or I've actually been in South Pittsburgh Hospital back in, I think, 2011, when we were in one room, and I had a very bad taste in my mouth. And there was a registered nurse that was with us, Jeannie Chilton from, she lives down in the St. Louis area. And she said, "What does it taste like?" I said, "It tastes like like an iron, almost like you take a big sip of well water, irony taste." And she says, "Well, that's blood." She says, "Most likely you had the taste of blood in your mouth." And I opened my mouth, and I had no blood in my mouth or anything like that. We were actually in the pharmacy at the time. We were doing that EVP session, which I don't think was one of the rooms we actually made it to when we were down there in this past time. But I mean, these are just ways, I believe, that the spirit, lets you know that they're around, and they're just trying to show you one way, shape, or form that, hey, notice me,
Right.
Let's see here. Ouija boards, yeah. Are they safe to use? I've heard many people have had bad experiences with them. That's coming from Jennifer Baker.
Well, actually, that's my cousin. Actually, Jennifer is. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I actually collect like old Ouija boards, different Ouija boards, because I'm weird like that. But anything paranormal, or if it has to do with any type of ghostly communication or any type of communication tool with ghosts and spirits, I collect the old stuff. But it's mostly because I do collect them. I don't use those on investigations or anything. But I truly don't believe there is anything bad. I think the bad phenomena got associated with those back in the day. Through some TV shows and everything, they got this bad rep that, all of a sudden the Ouija board is this doorway to the other side. And you may have a completely different opinion, Dale. I mean, don't, you're not going to offend me if you do. But I think what happens is the subconscious mind moves it, you don't realize that you're moving it. I don't think there's anything like, don't get me wrong, we've done experiments where we've seen some strange things happen and come across them. But I truly believe most of the time it's caused by the subconscious mind of the individual pushing it, and it's not real. I don't think there's anything evil. I think it's just because it's got the label of evil over the years. But what's your opinion, Dale?
Well, the Ouija board basically is just a piece of compressed wood. It's really all it was. It probably was started way back during the time of spiritualism, before Parker Brothers put it on the market. They were called spirit boards. Basically what they were, it was just in some cases they were letters in a circle, and they had a shot glass, and they would kind of move the shot glass back and forth to the letters and spell them out. And remember, there was a lot of bad things that came out of spiritualism. They had the Fox sisters that later they were clicking their toes. That was causing the communication with spirits. They finally admitted to that. The famous coddling fairies photographs from England that they later found were completely fake. They were cutouts from a fairy tale called a gathering of fairies. So many things came out of that time period. And of course, a lot of fake photographs from that time period. Bouguer, Mumbler, who faked spirit photographs, was making a very lucrative market at that time. So you got to remember, that's where the Ouija board comes from, that same era. And I believe that it's really what you're trying to do with the board, not so much that it's the board itself. What you're trying to do is you're trying to open up a communication from this side to the other side. And in some cases, it's uncontrolled communication. I like to paraphrase it as like picking up a phone dialing a number with your eyes closed. You never know.
Yeah.
You're in the line, and it's pretty much true. Because I've been told, and again, I'm just take it for what it's worth. I've just been told by people in the psychic realm that spirits that haven't crossed over, that have been malicious, they were mass murderers, they took their own lives, they were just negative. They kind of hang around the lower realm of this is going to get very new age, between the veil from this world to the other side. And a lot of times when you're doing Ouija board sessions, according to the sources that I had, you're contacting some of those people. The movie The Exorcist started off with a boy, not a girl, in Georgetown who was playing with a Ouija board and had contacted a spirit called Captain Howdy.
Yeah.
From that point forward, it just completely escalated. Scratching sounds, and then eventually demonic possession. That's a true story. Whether or not the Ouija board was actually the stimulus that started it, and it surely was the first paranormal thing that this little boy did that may have, went down the road to something worse. I believe that a lot of people that use Ouija boards, sometimes they use them individually. They'll put them on their laps. Sometimes they use it in just a pair rather than a whole bunch of people. And they go in there and they ask questions. And what happens in many cases is they get scared. Maybe there's obscenities coming through. Maybe they just get freaked out, and they just stop the session. Now, I've been told, I'm not a Ouija board expert, so please don't write to me or a website. In fact, I even got a disclaimer on my website. I got a whole section about it. Don't call me. I'd like to have people call me at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Teenagers crying on the phone, crying their eyes out that they're playing with a Ouija board and they got something they want me to talk about. And I said, I told you, don't call me. I'm not an expert. But there is a proper way, according to Stoker Hunt, who wrote the book called Ouija, Most Dangerous Game. I actually met Stoker Hunt in the Excalibur Club when I was actually on a television show called Exploring the Unexplained with Mitch Pileggi. Now, Mitch Pileggi was Mulder's boss in the X-Files, the bald-headed guy. Yeah. And the host of the show. And what they did is they had a, we were trying to do a Ouija board session. I said, I don't want to do that. I will set up equipment, film it, videotape it, and monitor it, and you have some volunteers come in and play with it. So I actually, two of my people from my group decided they were going to do that. I said, okay, fine. And Stoker Hunt was there taking notes. He was the expert that they called in. And the whole hour and a half we tried to get that board, that planchette to move, it might have moved about that much in 2.5 hours. Didn't even make it to the next letter at all. So I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it doesn't always work. And sometimes with impressionable teenagers playing with it, as you said, they can either subconsciously or unconsciously go towards a certain thing, or intentionally go towards a certain word or letter to spell something out. And they're always saying, are you moving it? No, I'm not moving it. Are you moving it? No, I'm not moving it. Somebody's moving it, or maybe somebody isn't. Okay. But what happens is they get scared. They don't close the section down, because if you look at the bottom of the Ouija board, it always says goodbye.
Yep.
It's supposed to say goodbye and go down there, and that's supposed to, in theory, close the door. Which, I mean, we don't know if that works or not. Right. So that's what happens a lot of times, and I think, unfortunately, it does get a bad rap because it's just another form of communication. It's just similar to having a seance, or having automatic writing, or getting involved with rituals or things. I mean, not black magic, but other rituals like voodoo and stuff like that. I mean, these are all different ways that you can conjure up things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. I remember the one and only time I used a Ouija board, and I'll tell you a quick story here. Is this happens to a lot of people. They always want to conjure up somebody famous.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley, for instance, or John Wayne or somebody, a very famous figure in time. We were trying to get a hold of Janis Joplin,
Yeah.
the folk singer, and she had died not that long ago. This is back, I think, in the, I don't know, 1970s, 1980s or something. And we went to my buddy's house. His parents had went out for the night, and they left the house, which was probably a mistake. A bunch of teenagers in the house, and we went down the basement, turned all the lights off, and we started doing the Ouija board in the dark here. And we just had a little candle or something in the center, and it was moving a little bit. I don't know if it actually spelled anything out, but then one woman said that she envisioned, looked like waves crashing on the shore. She kind of envisioned it. It didn't make any sense. We were trying to contact Janis Joplin, okay? And about the same time, and it's a completely different story, but real quickly, there was another idiot in there who was kind of dabbling with some other kind of weirder stuff. And he made it what they call a witch's ladder. And I'm not going to tell people how to do this either, but if you tie so many knots into it, I'm not going to tell you how many knots, and you curse people with it, apparently. He was trying to curse this boy that was in love with his girlfriend that they had just broke up. So he thought if he got rid of this guy, he could jump back in, right? Now, I can tell you what, I know this guy somewhat, and suddenly something backfired. For some reason, we got scared. I don't know if we even closed the board. I'm not even sure, because I wasn't running the session, by the way. I hate doing that. It was experimental. This guy falls to the ground with this thing in his hand, and he's got his hands together like this, and he's going, oh, God, and he can't move. Now, he could have been faking that. But I'll tell you this, about that same time, the parents come home. Now, if the guy was faking it, he would have jumped up real quick and stopped it. He continued with the two parents that had walked in, and they were elder people. They were probably in their 40s or 50s, and continuing screaming, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God, and all this. And, I didn't know any better. And again, I'm not an occultist or anything like that. But I said, I took that darn little piece of rope and I started untying the knots. And I swear, every time I untied the knot, he got better and better and better and better. And all of a sudden, that's a true story.
Wow.
I can't tell you if there was actually any relationship to me untying the knots and him, coming out of it. But why he would do that in front of those parents, I don't know.
That's weird. Yeah.
That night, as I went to bed, I had a coaster of Janis Joplin hanging on my door. At that time, I was still living with my parents. I was a teenager, and we had bunk beds. My brother had the bottom bunk, I had the top bunk. In the middle of the night, I woke up, and I S you not. I won't even use the word, but her eyes in the poster were glowing, glowing. And I jumped out of bed, turned the lights on, and of course that poster came. I still have that poster. It's down here in my basement.
Really?
Hung up since that time.
Yeah.
So, and that was my one and only time with Ouija board. And I said that was enough for me. So the whole idea, what did we conjure up? Was it Janis Joplin? Was it something else? That's the thing we don't really know. They can work. They, going back to the experiment we did at the Excalibur, they were on the show, and I think I posted this to the Facebook timeline. Anybody wants to go to my timeline and find that actual video from that show. It actually shows that they did an experiment with these teenagers, okay, and as soon as they touched it, it started to go wildly all over the place and started to spell out all kind of words, like murder and all this, and I was killed and all this stuff, and their name. Then what they did is they blindfolded all these teenagers. Unbeknownst to them, they took that Ouija board away, brought another Ouija board that had the letters and numbers all in different locations. So immediately, when they touched it, they started to go to where they thought those letters were, and they spelled out gibberish. Yeah. So to me, that was kind of proof, and including the scientist they had on there, who was a clinical psychologist, that said most likely it's subconscious or unconscious mind of the beholder that actually moves that, or in some cases just outright fraud. But I always tell people it's something I just wouldn't play with. It's just something I wouldn't play with, because it's not the board, it's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
When we do our experiments, we're not summoning up ghosts. We're trying to talk to spirits that might be already there. We're not trying to conjure up something or bring something over from the other side. We're trying to converse with something that might be there. And again, I never provoke. At least I've done it one time. I'll take it back. I did it one time for 5 minutes up at the top floor of Prospect Place, where I won't even mention the paranormal TV team that was out there. Where they had all this demonic stuff, and nothing happened to me at all. Period. These various ways of communications, they can work, they can't work sometimes. But I always say, if you think you have a ghost in your house, you call in a professional team rather than trying to do it yourself. Don't sprinkle holy water around, because again, my thinking of that, if holy water pretty much is a Catholic thing for the most part.
Right.
If the ghost is not Catholic, they're not going to know what you're doing. What are you throwing water around for? What's that got to do?
Yeah.
If you go through an area and you're smudging it with sage, which is a Native American Indian custom, if the ghost is not a Native American Indian, they're going to say, what's that smoke over here? I mean, it may clear the atmosphere a little bit from some, I don't know, energy or negativity, but it's not going to get rid of a ghost, in my way of thinking. So
we've actually
professional stuff to professionals.
Yeah, we've actually got it in our guidelines and protocol that we won't use any type of religious artifact, whether it be holy water, crosses, whatever it may be, to get rid of ghosts or spirits, because like you say, it can be in a form provoking in itself. Like you said, if that ghost wasn't Catholic, or he wasn't a particular religion that believed in those holy relics or those symbols and the symbolism behind that, it's just going to make him mad. And I mean, if it was, let's say you go to a home of an atheist, and you start doing that, and they passed away, whether an atheist remains here, I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it could actually, provoke that ghost or spirit versus somebody who believed in it. So we try not to use the religious objects. But going back to the Ouija board thing, I think I've told you about this. I've got, maybe I shouldn't have, but anytime I do an investigation where it involves a Ouija board or a case that has involved some type of phenomena resulting from a Ouija board, I keep those if the client lets me. So I have a whole stack of Ouija boards from cases that I've investigated where people have called me in. And one of the more, the ones I can recall right offhand that stand out to me the most is we got a call from, it was a sorority, a girls' sorority in Terre Haute at ISU. And these girls called us into this place. They were having all kinds of strange things happen. Well, come to find out, and this is kind of a weird connection, they had taken a Ouija board out to Edna Collins Bridge, and done some experiments with it on Edna Collins Bridge, and think they thought they had summoned something, and they thought it was Edna that followed her from the bridge back to their little I don't know what you call it, sorority apartment. And that they had their ISU. We investigated it, and I don't know. We did see some kind of strange things there. Got some EVP that said, well, I remember why I took it now. Yeah, we got a real good EVP that said take the board.
Oh,
and so that's why that was actually one of the original ones I took after we did an investigation, because it said take the board. And obviously after I took the board, they claimed that their paranormal activity stopped completely when I took it home with me. And I never experienced anything at my house when I brought the board back, but they claimed it stopped the activity at their little apartment. But they claimed it was Edna from Edna Collins Bridge is what they think is going on, because they summoned, and I guess it spelled out her name, and whether it did or didn't, I don't know. I wasn't at the bridge to see that, but we've investigated a lot of cases where people claim to have had activity after they've used them. But
well, you got to remember the famous demonologist Ed and Lorraine Warren, who was doing it for more than 60 years plus years, and they're both gone now. Lorraine died not that long ago. I think she was up in the 80s or something like that. I actually met both of them in a college downstate. My nephew was taking courses, I believe, in ISU or somewhere down there in Bloomington Normal or somewhere down in that area, and they said, "Oh, do you know who's going to be talking?" I said, "No, Ed and Lorraine Warren." Said, get me a ticket. I got the front row seat. I was like 3 feet away from these people. Here's the novice Dale up against the experts over here at that time. And I actually went up and I talked to them very briefly, mostly Lorraine. We had put together at that point like 3 conventions called Ghost Trackers Exposition. And I went up to her and I said, "I'd like to have both of you talk at our exposition." She goes, very nicely, she says, "Dale, you can't afford us." So I agree. I mean, it's just crazy. But you got to remember, they used religious provocation a lot of times. They would literally go in and provoke using religious icons, holy water, Bibles, crucifixes, and they would. That's how they would determine whether or not there was a demon there. Which again, I've got mixed feelings about myself. But they said if something reacted, especially if people that were supposedly possessed reacted very strongly to holy water being thrown on them, or whatever, that was a sign that somebody had a negative presence, either in them or around them. It's something that I don't have any desire to get involved with. In fact, when we screen cases, I talk to people. I can get a pretty good idea. I have a 3 or 4 page questionnaire that go through to ask specific questions, and I can get a pretty good idea what's going on. And one of the questions I always ask: do they use Ouija boards, seances, automatic writing, black magic rituals? Are you a Satanist? I just come straight out. I don't pull any punches. I mean, they could lie to me about that. So I mean, they might not be truthful, but I mean, I can get a pretty good idea before I get there. And if I even think it's somewhat negative, I'd rather not bring my team there, just for the sake of having anybody there possibly be attacked or have an attachment of some way, which again, that's never really happened to me either. No attachments or anything like that. It's at that point, I would suggest to people that have an issue like that, first you may want to talk to somebody in the clergy, to have them maybe do a house blessing or a clearing or prayers or something. Prayers often help. And if that doesn't work, you may want to talk to somebody who's seasoned in demonology. So maybe somebody like John Zaffis or somebody else that's a demonologist. They're all across the country. But again, that's something that, I have no desire to get involved with negativity. I would rather investigate things that are more like Casper.
I've told you that before. Like, I actually, I try to get some of those weird cases, like the bad ones, but I've never really seen anything bad, even though I try to take the demonic cases and everything myself. I mean, I've never seen anything what I would call demonic or evil in all my investigations, And like I say, I've actually tried to. I mean, I've tried to take the most crazy, messed up, demonic cases I can find, just to prove to myself, is this demonic activity real? Are demons real? And so far, I've seen absolutely no proof of a demon. And nobody can send me a picture of a demon either. There's anybody out there that can send me a picture of a demon?
With that same thought in mind, Luke Massey says, have you guys ever tried to do the Exorcist house in St. Louis? I think that silly TV shows once went there.
Yeah,
I've never been to I've never been to that house. In fact, you got to remember that a very prominent paranormal investigator bought the so-called Demon House in Indianapolis. I think $54,000. I won't mention his name, but did a documentary down there, and eventually tore the house down. I mean, hey, you got $54,000 to throw around. I could use it. I could get me some nice equipment and everything, But
and he lost his eyesight in the process.
Is that what happened?
Oh yeah, you didn't hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that. Maybe
Yeah,
is that why you started to wear glasses?
supposedly, yeah, that was involved with that demon house there.
Ah,
Supposedly, he got some issues with his eyes after that case, and that's why he's wearing the big thick glasses now.
and then all the places he's been to, he has to wear a respirator because he's breathing so much, black mold and asbestos and everything. And that's why I like to kind of scope out an area and making sure it's kind of safe. I've actually buying a respirator, and then even suggesting that other people from my group may want to keep a respirator handy because when I was diagnosed many years ago, I had I go in for annual physical every year, and then one year they decided, oh, we're not going to do an X-ray this year. Okay. Yeah. And then 2 years later, they X-rayed. I had a little spot on my right lung, and they didn't know what it was. They did a PET scan where they inject you with dye, and everything lit up. I go, oh man, what the hell? I got stage 4 cancer or something. I'm dying, right? And I didn't find out till about a week and a half later. So I'm sitting at home. I seriously, I lost 10 pounds in a week and a half worrying about this. And they came back and they said, no, it's just what they call granuloma. It's a sort of an infection. We don't know what causes it. It's not cancerous, but we probably want to take that little lobe off your lung right there just to be on the safe side. And I was in the hospital for 5 days with a chest tube in me. Yeah, so, I mean, one of the things I asked my doctor, I said, well, do you think maybe because my doctor knows that I'm a ghost hunter, like all of them do, and and they even ask me sometimes in between, hey, what are you doing now? You finding anything good? And I'll talk to them for a while. They're pretty cool about that. And I asked them, I said, well, do you think maybe because I go into some weird places, run down old abandoned places that got not the best environmental conditions, is that you think maybe I breathed some of that stuff in that caused it? He goes, no, that wasn't the reason. I said, cool. But still, I mean, that's something that people should consider when they go into some place. Really, really check out, with the people. I don't care if you have to ask, direct questions, make sure it's safe, because I know there's a place down south here called Mantino Asylum that I never got a chance to investigate. Never got a chance to see any of the buildings. I got pictures of the buildings that I found on Google searches, but there was supposed to be what I was invited to come and do a nighttime walkthrough, and I don't know, for some reason I couldn't make it. And then right after that, they were shut down by the state until they cleared all the asbestos and black mold out. And I guess I don't know if they ever did, or it was just too costly, and they just started tearing the buildings down. So it's just to be on the safe side. If anybody's listening and you do something like that, just be careful, because it's not worth your health.
Yeah, I would hate to know. I mean, I try to wear masks in places where I know it's completely horrible, but I guarantee you I breathed in so much bad stuff, I'm sure, in my time period of doing this. Because, like you say, a lot of these old buildings have asbestos, black mold. I mean, some of them you can smell from the outside when you open the door. You can smell that mold smell even from the outside. Not good. I mean,
Luke Massey asked, can humans actually make ghosts go away?
Well, I guess that's the whole thing of, will they listen to you in the first place? Like we were kind of talking about, it's like, it just depends on how you try to make them go away, I guess, like, we were referring to earlier. I don't know. I mean, I think you can kind of coax them into crossing over, or help them maybe in some way, maybe tell them go into the light, that everything will be all right. Their relatives and families waiting for them there, maybe kind of just talk to them. But I think they've got to want to, Yeah,
it's a surviving personality. And I think if we are talking with people that once walked the earth, and I think most of the time we're not talking about inhuman demons. Right. I don't think that just is the case. If it is, it's surely less than 2%. Basically, they have their own free will. So if you try to suggest that they move on, they could be very stubborn and just say, hell no, I'm sticking around. For whatever reason. I mean, because this is their house. They lived in it all their life. They don't want to give it up. They don't want to see somebody else moving. They don't want to you be away from their family. Even though to me, if you are a ghost and you're sticking around for generations and seeing your family grow old and die, and the next generation die, that's got to be depressing.
Oh, yeah.
You would think you'd want to move on and not see all that, because that would be even more depressing than being around as a ghost.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like things dissipate over time. We had like this dissipator theory. How long does a ghost actually last at a particular location? Does it last, until the end of time, or do they, once their family has moved on and died and passed away and are with them, does it kind of dissipate and the activity quit? Maybe somebody murdered the individual and they went to trial, and got charged with it, and then that gave them their peace, and then they could move on. It's like what causes these ghosts and spirits to finally leave these locations? And like you said, I don't think they just stay there forever. I mean, but places like, then kind of I've got an opposite feeling of that, because places like Gettysburg, where we're getting ready to go, maybe they're continuously reliving that battle, over and over again. So who knows how long that's going to continue? Who knows how long that energy is going to be there? I don't know. There's a lot of different theories, just all theories too. We can only speculate, what's going on here.
Yeah, you're only talking about maybe about 150 years ago or so, for Gettysburg. But
right.
Look at all the places like, in the old country, in England and Poland and in Europe, that go back centuries before us, and reports of ghosts. You got kings and queens and noblemen and King Henry VIII and his beheaded wives, and all this other stuff, which is crazy, that people still are seeing to this day, experiencing, because of, I think more or less because of the trauma that was perpetrated on those people. In some cases, untimely death, being in prison, starving to death in these dungeons and concentration camps during World War II. That's just a whole nother thing in itself. And I've actually talked to people that have actually visited places like Auschwitz and Treblinka, and places that were concentration camps. And there are ghost tours, believe it or not, of those locations. And people that just go in there for the history, just walking around, they told me they felt and they've heard things, and they've seen something out of the corner of their eye. And 6 million people, 6 million Jews were killed during World War II. That's enough in itself. The way I like to think about it, think of all the people that have died since Adam and Eve, pretty much, on the face of the earth. And even if only a small fraction of those people come back as spirits, they got to be all around us then. Literally, got to be really all around us. Maybe they're not strong enough to manifest, to be seen or heard or smelt or felt in some way, but they got to be around us. Or if they're ghosts, and many people may have just simply peacefully moved on, but some people, for whatever reason, just don't want to move on.
Yeah, definitely.
This one's called guy called A Helmet of Salvation. You ever heard of him? That's his name.
No.
He says, "Hello, I have an important question. How does the Bible have any guidance of how many times?" No, I'm not even going to read the rest of it. I'll tell you about it off air. Everybody's probably seen it. I'm not going to. I saw the rest of it. I'm not going to. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a
profane comment.
It's a very profane comment. I'm not going to read that.
Okay.
People said, "You're going to Gettysburg when?" We're going to Gettysburg early August, August 5th, 6th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. We're on the 6th. We're coming back on the 10th. We're going to be spending 3 full days in Gettysburg, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, doing 3 nighttime investigations. We're also going to be investigating the Penhurst Asylum on Friday morning, which is someplace I've never been to. I don't think, Jason, you've been to that either.
No, I have not.
And then we're also going to be investigating a very short hour investigation at both the Jenny Wade house and the old orphanage across the street, and then many other places on the battlefield during the day. it's just impossible to try to investigate everything at night. We just don't have the time. We have to be there either for a week or come back in wintertime when the sun goes down about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and be out there for 6 hours, because that would be the only other way of doing it. So yeah, we're going to be out there for a while, and I think I'm trying to put together I'm still trying to put together a couple of other possible things that we could do during the daytime, or even after we do the battlefield investigation, because it's battlefield, we got to be up by 10 o'clock. So that's still kind of early. People want to stay out for another couple hours or so. I mean, I might be able to talk a couple of other people into letting us in their buildings for an hour or two, free of charge, by the way. And so I'm working on that right now to see if I can put that together.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that trip, because like I say, I've never been to Gettysburg either to investigate those. So I'm kind of excited about that, see what we come up with, see if we get any intelligent responses out on the, the battlefields and stuff, like we did at Stone River, just to see if we get any type of communication out there.
Yeah. Yeah, Len said that ghosts may be around as long as they can recharge their energies from different sources, lights, outlets, batteries, cars, and living people.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, because if Einstein says that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it just changes form. But it's I think, and this explains a lot of sightings, especially in the Chicagoland area, like Resurrection Mary, for instance. I think we talked about Resurrection Mary when you guys were down here last time a little bit. That she's not seen as often as she used to be seen, and again, a lot of what people were experiencing was a visual apparition, which has got to take a lot of energy to manifest in a physical form. So no wonder that her sightings are not every day or every week, because it takes so much energy to be built up to be seen like that. It's not like she's just being heard or felt or something. She's being seen literally, physically, as solid as you or I, getting in the cars and disappearing, which
that's crazy.
Something I'd like to happen to me, but I mean, fortunately, it probably won't.
Yeah. That'd be
her,
awesome.
Her heyday was pretty much between 1973 and 1983, which when I was just starting out, in the field, collecting so many stories, even from my mom and dad and people that had some very interesting experiences. There are a lot of places that are still on my wish list that I'm going to hope to do, and would have done more this year, except with the COVID.
I know.
Setting my sights on next year, and I know me and you had talked about us maybe getting our teams together and going back out to Tennessee maybe next year, depending on how it works out. And I think you had suggested doing the Hales Bar Marina, and then looking into maybe the Bell Witch Cave out there, which is all in Tennessee, by the way. And if you want to make it a 3-night thing, we could probably do the Thomas House, which is the Thomas House, and then we'd be able to investigate Thomas House, the church across the street, the Cloyd Church, and the haunted cave, Leonard's Cave.
Oh, so, yeah, that'd be cool. We get 2 caves in one trip there.
Exactly. I would love to investigate Mammoth Cave, because I know Mammoth Cave is very haunted, and there was I'm trying to remember. I saw somewhere on some sort of podcast or some sort of sort of like what we're doing, some sort of internet TV thing here, that somebody was asking about sending a list of haunted caves because he wanted to find out more about that.
Right.
There are quite a number of haunted caves around the country. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not accessible to do investigations. I mean, you can tour them like a regular tourist, but Mammoth Cave, for instance, I know not only was there that mummified remains of that Indian probably 2,000 years ago, that's still in the cave, by the way, that was on display for a long time before Native American Indians said enough was enough. It's the desecration, sacrilege. So they put up a side panel, a passageway, I should say. They were fearful of taking it outdoors because it would probably just crumble away. It was in a constant temperature for 2,000 degrees.
I've done EVP sessions in Mammoth Cave.
Oh,
I did a tour with a guide, and I told him what I was doing. I actually told them, and they went quiet for about 3 to 5 minutes, and like I had my recorder in there, and like they were cool with it. I did some EVP sessions in Mammoth Cave. I also did it in Marengo Cave in Indiana, Wyandotte Cave. I think it was the Squire Boone Caverns, maybe it was called.
I've been to them all.
Yeah.
I was kind of a spelunker in my earlier years.
Yeah. There's another one that I got some good stuff in. I can't remember what it was called.
Cave in Rock?
Well, yeah, there too, definitely. Yeah, we've been down there several times. Cave in Rock, we've got a lot of good EVPs out of there.
I've never been. That's one place I've never been, actually. It's probably
really?
the only Illinois cave that there is, I believe. There might be a couple smaller caves. Usually the caves start in like southern Indiana through Tennessee and Kentucky and all. That's where you get Missouri. You get that karst topography, the limestone and all that. That's where you get all those caves. But
yeah, we'll have to take you down to Cave in Rock because we've been there several times. We've done a lot of investigations in Cave in Rock, and we've I don't know, we've picked up a couple voices. I thought I actually heard a disembodied voice in there one night of a man. There were a lot of river pirates that went up the river, and they used that cave for killing people, murdering people. I mean, that cave's been used for a lot of stuff over the years. I think they even back in the day had a bar and restaurant inside the cave for a while, where you could like go inside it, but that was way back in the day, I guess. So I read the history.
That's kind of like very similar to the Leonard's Cave in Red Bowling Springs, Tennessee. Bowling Springs, Tennessee. It used to be used by bootleggers because obviously if you put your stash in there, it's perfectly cool. It's like 54 degrees year round. It can be 100 degrees above or 100 degrees below. It's going to be a constant 54 degrees down in there. So it's great for storing stuff. And unfortunately, there was a individual that I don't remember the story, but I have the newspaper article. We actually found it when we were down in the archives in Red Bowling Springs, of a gentleman that was actually shot by a county sheriff during some sort of altercation. I don't know if it was because of his bootlegging or something else. So there was at least one untimely death. And we know that also was an Indian burial cave. There were actually, we got newspaper articles that there were actually bones found in there. We actually saw bones in there. We think they most likely were animal bones, of the ones we saw. But it's pretty cool. We actually did pick up chanting. We picked up sounds, screams. We had a K2 jammed in the wall. And when we asked the question, are you with your family? Nothing. Are you alone? The thing spiked all the way to red and flew out of the wall. And we actually got it on tape. That's where I also got poked in the back by something that was unseen. When I shot around with the camera, it was kind of going like this to see what it was. I didn't see anything until I later went frame by frame and kind of saw what looks to be. And you remember Rosemary Ellen Guiley? I'm sure she's been around almost as long as I've been around, and she's wrote dozens and dozens of books. She is a very stern supporter of the theory of what they call rock beings or rock entities. And because the Native American Indians, they prayed to everything from water to rocks to clouds to for crops and everything like that. They believed that everything had a manitou or a spirit. When I swung the camera around and I went frame by frame, there's literally, and I swear, and I got it posted up, a figure of a man standing, actually kneeling, with his elbow on his knee, kind of going like this.
Yeah.
Staring at me after I got poked in the back, and that was pretty cool. I don't know what it was. Does it go back to the idea of that guy getting killed? I mean, was it a finger in my back, or was it a gun in my back?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I felt like a finger, but it's hard to say. And I swung around, and everybody was to my left. There was nobody behind me or to my right, and that was pretty cool. And we could actually investigate that for free too. I mean, that's an awesome place. The good thing about caves, pretty much especially if they're dry caves like Mammoth Cave, the absence of sound.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
basically, you're not going to hear anything. You're not going to hear a rock fall. If you hear a rock fall in Mammoth Cave, you're 1 in a million, because they say rocks don't fall. It's been steady like that for thousands of years. You're not seeing water dripping mostly, unless you get further down, where the Echo River is. Now, this cave in Red Bowling Springs, unfortunately, it does have a little bit of water coming through, so you kind of hear a gurgling sound. So these voices and screams that we heard, we don't know if they were audio matrixing or not.
Right.
The water sounding like, people talking. I really can't distinguish it, but it was pretty cool. And we did have some very interesting responses inside there. So, caves are a great place to investigate, because first of all, there's nobody in there usually but you. It's totally dark. You have to use night shot. And when you mean totally dark, lights go off, you will never see your hand in front of your face. No matter how long you've got 1,000 years, you're never going to see your hand in front of your face. And then the total absence of sound. And that's what people say when they've been trapped in caves. It's not so much that the total darkness, it's the absence of sound.
Yeah.
There was a guy that they tell the story every time I've been on a Mammoth Cave tour, of a guy that decided that, he was on the tour with them, and he decided he needed to take a washroom break. He went on kind of a side passage real quick to relieve himself. And I guess the guide never saw him, because there's a guide in front and a guide in the back. And they kind of were already kind of strung way out, And as they leave each section, they turn the lights off behind him of the section they just came from. So all of a sudden he found himself in total darkness.
Yeah.
They didn't know until hours later that they were missing somebody, when somebody said, well, where's so-and-so?
Oh, wow.
When they finally found this guy, he was in the corner and he was banging 2 rocks together.
Oh, wow.
Because he said he was driving him crazy, because the absence of sound, he had to make some noise. He was banging rocks.
Yeah.
Now, they also went on to say that within 3 hours, his hair turned completely white. Now, that I don't believe. That was to scare people to stay off the path. But the true story about banging the rocks, that is something, that's total absence of sound, which is perfect for EVPs, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was going to say. It's the perfect acoustics and the sound chamber for an EVP.
Did you get anything at that cave?
I did. It was really weird, too, because it sounds different, because, like, when I ask the questions, too, you get like a weird echo kind of effect.
Yeah.
And, we got a couple things. I think in one of them, I got one that said, like, I think it was Mammoth. It said, I'm a spirit, I think, is what we believe it said. And, like, it was just a real faint whisper, but it sounded just weird. I mean, I have to find, I've got it on my files. I'll send it to you. It's pretty neat. I'm losing power here, Dale. So I'm gonna have to cut it here shortly. So
okay.
So is any more last questions out there, real quick?
Well, they said, will there be a live investigation this week? Somebody asked.
I don't know about this week. I will. We'll see. Maybe. Try to think. We got anything going on during the week? We're definitely gonna be do something this weekend, I believe, because this is our last weekend before we leave for Gettysburg, I think. Yeah. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on the page and let you know for sure if we're going to do any more live feeds this week. And we may get something in the middle of the week, that we weren't planning even. We get that a lot. If somebody calls us for a house investigation or somewhere, we may just jump on that and go. So you never know. We may do something through the week. We may not. But we'll definitely try to probably get one in there before we leave for Gettysburg. So definitely stay tuned, guys, and check our page, and we'll keep you updated on that.
Andrew Painter wanted to know about the Linville Caverns in North Carolina. Have you ever heard anything about it? A fisherman found it in the early 1800s. I was actually in Linville Caverns. I mean, I kind of prided myself, especially in the early to mid 1970s when I was a young man, being able to splunk around in caves and crawl around. So I was doing a lot of caving, mostly just commercial caves, just taking the tour. And they always say you see one cave, you see them all. Well, every cave's got something a little bit different. And
Sure.
I've heard of Linville Caverns. I have not heard of anything being haunted or anything with Linville Caverns. But somebody asked, did you get a lot of activity in Marengo Cave?
Actually, yeah, I got more Marengo than I did Mammoth because I've been to Marengo several different times, and I've got several EVPs. I remember getting help me in there several times, and I don't know if that was due to maybe somebody being trapped in the cave over the years too. It's been a long time since I've been there, though. I mean, I have been there a lot because I say I've been all over, that part of Indiana and Jasper, Indiana, and French Lick. We used to go all through there. But yeah, we got some good EVPs out of Marengo Cave. I do remember mostly the Help Me. I believe it was extremely loud.
See, a lot of people say they wish they could go to Gettysburg with us.
Yeah.
Maybe we could put something together like that for the public or something one year or something.
That would be cool. Yeah. Yeah. See how
something.
Sure.
I mean, I like showing people around. I've been there about 8 or 9 times over the course since I think the first time back in around 1990s or so. That's when I first met Mark Nesbitt, who was the expert, and that's one of the places I'm hoping that we can get a chance to get into for at least maybe at least an hour or so in his building, which is pretty cool. And doing a session in there. That's haunted as hell. We were in there. We got some strange stuff inside there, and a couple of other places I'm looking at. It really depends on how gung ho everybody and how everybody wants to do everything. I want to leave some free time so people can go shopping around for souvenirs and whatever. Shirts and sweatshirts or whatever they want, because there's plenty of places in town that you can do that. You can literally walk down the center of town and find all kind of places, and they're really cool.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking forward to it.
That a lot.
Yeah, I am too.
Somebody asked about maybe I scrolled up. I think they were asking something about what the COVID was out there, and I've been keeping track of that pretty carefully. Almost every week I've been looking on it, even every couple of days. You can go to CDC and they actually go county by county to show you where the caseload was. And Adams County, by the way, is where Gettysburg is, and they are actually going down in cases. They're going down between 10 to 50% down in their caseload in there, and they're very few deaths in Adams County. Then Chester County, which is where Pennhurst is, it's steady to going down. So none of the places we're going has an uptick as of right now, which is cool. And but I still think if we need to, we can just wear a mask and social distance, and I think we'll be fine.
So I say we mostly hang around each other anyway. So
yeah, exactly. So what was I going to say now? I forgot.
Yeah, I'll probably have to.
I don't know how much battery power you got there. If you got a second, I can tell you a couple of things about what we did at the Ashmore real quick.
I'm at like 10%. So okay. Go ahead.
Well, real quickly, and I sent you some of these basically. One of the first ones we called was on Pheasant Box says something will happen. And that's what I thought afterwards when we heard that noise, and then you guys said called me on the walkie-talkie, but I wasn't able to hear the sound. I may have to go back and try to cut that out again. Okay. And then I actually asked, can you make it cold in here? Because the building was very hot.
Yeah.
I got a voice that comes through and says, shivering cold.
Oh, wow.
Now that to me is pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had a voice, and I didn't ask any question at all, that simply said, go lights out, which we were trying to do, but we couldn't, because at that point the children were still there, and we didn't go lights out until later.
What about the? Oh, go ahead.
The very last one that I had, and I haven't went through all the EVPs, is when we were out there at the cemetery, and I said, "Do you want us to stay or do you want us to leave?" And they had a voice that comes through, and it was a female that said, "Please stay." Remember, you heard that too. Do you remember that?
Yeah. We also got a full sentence out there by the cemetery, by the field. Remember, it says, please, or something about please go in and investigate or something.
Yeah, I haven't even got that far. I probably will be pulling that out. And if I do, I'll send that to you as well.
Awesome.
And do like another, like a short thing, keep me out for a couple of minutes or something instead of the whole Dale Kaczmarek show here.
No, you're fine, man. Yeah, we'll definitely. I'll get you back on once I get back to computer this next go around next show, maybe I can get some better signal and we'll play some of those.
So we'll definitely think of some better ways in the future where we maybe won't run into that same problem with Wi-Fi or
right.
We'll have some backups. We can post a signal there or something. I mean, I believe they said they had Wi-Fi in there, but it was locked or something. It was password protected, or they couldn't use it or something. Or
he said that there isn't any. I was picking up a Wi-Fi signal, which is what was weird. But he said 4 years ago he decided to do away with it because it wasn't that great. But I don't know about that. I don't know. I was picking up Wi-Fi signal in there.
Yeah, so it's got to be from somewhere.
Yeah, it'd be from somewhere. But yeah, we're gonna, like I say, we'll run a booster in next time from the outside, so that way we can get better signal for sure.
Well, that's about all I have here as far as questions.
Okay.
That I could see here, just comments and everything, and
all right.
So,
well, thanks for being on again, Dale. It's been fun.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime. I know took you some bit of a orchestration to get this together today.
I knew it. I'm actually setting out on a side road right now in my vehicle because I'm going mobile. I had to get some signal due to the lack of internet at my house for some reason tonight. I don't know. I live out in the middle of nowhere, as Dale can attest. He's dropped me off, so he knows I'm kind of in the middle of a cornfield there. But definitely, guys, check out our page, and we're going to be maybe going live again here in the near future. I'll definitely let you know. And we've got some good ones lined up. Like Dale said, we're going to Gettysburg next month, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we'll be doing live stuff there for sure. I'm Gettysburg. I'm sure you'll have no problem. Hopefully, Pennhurst will be okay too. So maybe we can do that there as well.
For sure, yeah. So, all right, guys, I'm going to kind of just end it with me and Dale both on here tonight. I want to thank everybody for watching the show tonight and staying on. I know we had some kind of a late start here, but I think it went pretty well. And check out our show next Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time if we don't go live before then. So thanks again, Dale, and thanks everybody for watching.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right, have a good evening, Dale.
You wanna go kind of off live so I can tell you something here, or can't you do that?
Yeah, I'll bring you down. I'll bring you down into the queue box in the show, and then we can talk again.
Okay. All right.
So, all right. Let's see. I think I can do that.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, guys. That was Dale Kaczmarek from the Ghost Research Society. I'd like to thank everybody for watching our show tonight. We are going to end it here, and hopefully we will get some cool stuff going this week and do a live feed, and definitely into Gettysburg. So check that out. I'm going to call it a night, but I will see you guys on the next one.